Everybody, I am Joe Garagiola. Tony Kubek will be alongside me, but we've got a new kid on the block. From the Los Angeles Dodgers, their star pitcher, Don Sutton. And Don pitched against both ball clubs, the Pirates and the Cincinnati Reds. And like you, I'd like to hear his thoughts.
Well, Joe, I helped both of these clubs get here. I contributed heavily to their being in the playoffs. I believe that there are a lot of similarities. If you're facing these clubs, both of them up front give you some guys who can get on base and who can run. Omar Moreno for the Pirates, Dave Collins, Joe Morgan for the Reds. And when they get on, you have to divide your attention because you have to keep them from running. And when you divide your attention, it makes it a little bit tougher to get out the Fosters, the benches who are going to hit the home runs, the Stargills, the Parkers, the Bill Robinsons, who are also going to hit home runs for the Pirates. So they can really make you work hard. I really believe the Pirates might have a little bit of an advantage because most of their strength comes from the left side. And Johnny McNamara has been a little bit short in the bullpen with his left-handers. When I faced the Reds, I've always tried to pitch around Johnny Bench when I was in trouble. With the Pirates, 8th place hitters hitting 290, so who are you going to pitch around? It's going to be fun.
You got to walk 8 guys to get to the guy you want. Tony, what about defense?
How about the pitcher here saying it might be a hitter's series? Well, it seems this year down at the major leagues, it's been a hitter's year in the major leagues, but there are a lot of question marks. Can Morgan come back? He's injury-free. Foster has had a little bit of a lull late this season, so has Concepcion, but the Pirates' bats have really been hot generally over the month of September.
And the pitcher is a guy you have to want to have out there in any big series. Over 100 games, over 500, the classic pitcher, Tom Seaver.
There's the way it shapes up for Cincinnati. A defense that has been good. Knight has added defensively to this ball club. Concepcion has made a lot of errors, but some of them have become, he's had a sore thumb in his throwing hand.
Omar Moreno in center field. He's the guy that makes it go. Tim Foley's had a tremendous year. He'll be at shortstop batting second. Batting third, Parker, the franchise. He's the big man, but the glue is right there, Willie Stargell. John Milner will be in left field. He's done it in a quiet way, but he has really produced for these Pirates. Bill Madlock, the last 2 weeks of the season, he has been the toughest out on that Pittsburgh Pirate Ball Club. The Mad Dog Madlock, and he's done it fielding too. Ed Ott is the catcher, a strong catcher. Phil Garner. Garner, who is batting 8th, hit 293 with 11 home runs, 59 runs batted in. That gives you an idea of the balance of this Pittsburgh club. And there is the Candyman, Candelaria.
Not a bad hitter either, Joe, but you can say that just about anybody in that Pittsburgh clubhouse.
You certainly can, Don.
Including the trainer.
And here's Omar Moreno against Tom Seaver as we look from our handheld camera high in right field here at Riverfront. Moreno digging in. He hit 282, 8 home runs, 69 runs batted in. He had 77 stolen bases. Knight has moved in close at third. Strike one.
Don, they have said that Tom Seaver no longer throws as many fastballs, but he popped the very first pitch of this ball game pretty well.
He did, too, and against a guy who always sets on the fastball on the first pitch and tries to go for the first pitch. Usually, I think in the ball game, though, you will see him going to soft stuff early in the game.
Whoa, smoke.
Like I said, you will see him going to the soft stuff early in the game.
Ray Knight dropping back with a quick 2-strike count on Omar Moreno. Ball game just getting started.
He'll still bunt with 2 strikes, Joe. He's done it all throughout the year.
Count remains at strike 2.
It's interesting, Don, you're talking about Moreno bunting. He has only beaten out 2 bunts all year long. He has really been thrown out just twice. What he does is either bunts through the ball or fouls the ball off, and there are the Seaver stats. 3 Cy Young Awards for Tom Seaver.
Off year as far as strikeouts is concerned, Tony, but like he will tell you himself, his strength right now is moving the ball around. He tries to get the ball near the strike zone with some movement on it, and he isn't worried so much about the velocity anymore.
0-2 the count. Ball game just getting started. Outside, 1-2. I always liked that Whitey Ford theory. He was a wholesale pitcher. 3 pitches for 3 outs, not 3 pitches for 1 out. You can have the strikeouts. Concepcion, big hop. 1 out.
That is always a relief to get the first ball of any big game hit to you. You don't want to wait 5 or 6 innings in a pressure-packed ball game like this and have to sit back and wait for that first ball to reach your hands.
And if you're Tom Seaver, it's a big relief not to have Omar Marino on base in the first inning, because you know the Pirates are going to try to establish that running game early.
Here is Tim Foley. He hit .288, 1 home run, 65 runs batted in. One strike. Foley, 28 years old. He played for the Mets, the Expos, the Giants, the Mets again, but he has found a home here. Ray Knight.
It's a split second right there when Ray Knight lost that ball in the lights on that high chopper. Down, Seaver against the Pirates. If he is still a power pitcher, and I think he basically still is, this is a fastball hitting club, don't you feel?
It is a fastball hitting club, Tom, but he can be.
Well, basically, Tony, without trying to get too fancy, I think that's one of the important things about pitching against this ball club. Two things. One, keep the guys up at the top of the lineup off the bases, Marino and Foley, keep them off the base and try and get the big guys not to hit the ball out of the ballpark. Parker, Madlock, Robinson, those guys, make them keep the ball in the ballpark.
Here is Dave Parker. Hot smash. Greason has it. So it's 3 up and 3 down. Listen to the crowd. We go to the bottom half of the first inning. Pittsburgh nothing. Cincinnati coming to bat in this first game of the championship series. Collins, Morgan, and Concepcion for Cincinnati.
Defensively for the Pirates, here's the way it'll look. Dave Parker, a very aggressive outfielder with a good throwing arm. Center fielder Moreno, he covers as much ground as anybody. In left field, it's John Miller. At times, he's replaced late in the ballgame defensively. The shortstop, Tim Foley, he's been playing with somewhat of a pulled leg muscle, but he says it's wrapped and he feels all right. Madlock, well, Joe has mentioned how well he's played third base for Chuck Tanner over the last month. Phil Garner, call him Scrap Iron. He doesn't give you an inch. Willie Stargell, he's at first base. Catcher is Ed Ott, and Cincinnati can run also, so they may be going on out in that pitching staff.
And a big left-hander, John Candelaria, keeps a fastball away from right-handers, keeps a curveball away from right-handers, has to throw strikes, is not going to strike out a lot of guys.
There's the total Pittsburgh defense.
Don, let me ask you, Candelaria has pitched only a third of an inning in relief in the last 15 days. He faced 4 batters in St. Louis and he allowed 3 hits. What does that do?
I think it's going to be a little difficult to get into a groove, Joe. Let me say that Candelaria was a surprise starter to everybody affiliated with Pittsburgh except Candelaria and Chuck Tanner. And I think if he is able to give Chuck 5 innings tonight, Chuck will be very happy with it.
Well, Dave Collins is up there as you see the stats on John Candelaria.
It's a revealing one right there. 25 home runs and 207 innings. That's quite high, isn't it?
It is. It looks familiar. It looks like something I see on our stat sheet down by my name.
Time being called now as third base umpire Frank Pulley is talking to Bill Madlock. Whatever it was, all cleared up.
What a find this man was for the Cincinnati Reds.
Ball 1. Collins at .318 with 3 home runs and 35 runs batted in. 26 years old. He played for the Angels in Seattle before coming to Cincinnati in 1978. Born in Rapid City, South Dakota, lives in La Palma, California. And there's his strike. He's the young guy who gets help from the hypnotist.
That's what I understand. I haven't talked to him about it. That's
Who, him or the hypnotist?
either, as a matter of fact. You know, that's something I think is being exploited more in sports right now. We have a little delay on the field.
I think there's a light on somewhere that's bothering Bill Madlock. It's behind home plate. Seems to be a camera. Many times there are cameras interviewing, but we don't see anything back there.
There the umpires are. Home plate, John Kibler. First base, Ed Montague. Second base, Jerry Dale. Third base, Frank Pulley. left field line, Dick Stella, right field foul line, Jim Quick.
And John Kibler is a pitcher's umpire.
What do you mean?
I mean that with him behind the plate, the strike zone may get a little bit wider than normal. He doesn't mind ringing up some people.
A little looper. Gardner makes the play. Phil Garner makes the play. Do all pitchers scout umpires like that?
After you've been around a while, you do, because you can use all the help you can get. And I'll tell you another thing you look for. There are some umpires in the league who, if a batter argues with them, the plate gets just a little bit wider, and you don't go to any trick pitches in that case. As soon as that guy argues, you start going for that outside corner.
Here is Joe Morgan. Boy, you just used the phrase that before this series is over, I'm going to ask you about trick pitching, because you have been known to be accused of throwing trick pitches. Ball one. Tony, we both saw him hit. We all saw Morgan hit. What do you think? You think he's ready?
Well, he took about a half an hour of extra hitting during the off day yesterday under the observation of Ted Kluszewski, and Klus said, I think you've got it back. He's got a bad right ankle and a bad wrist. But he got shots in each one of the areas 2 days ago, and he said he's feeling a lot better. But even if he walks, Joe, he's still going to be troublesome because he can steal a base, and it might be a double for him.
He doesn't have the stats that he had in the past years, but you know when he takes off, he has a pretty good chance of getting there.
He went for the 2-0 pitch, and it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Morgan, now 36 years old, born in Bonham, Texas, lives in Oakland, California. He's 5'7", 160 pounds, but a lot of power. 1978, he had 236. 2 balls and 2 strikes to count. 1 out, nobody on, no score. We're just getting started in the bottom of the first.
Joe has driven in just 32 runs this year. It's been one of those up and down last couple of seasons for Joe. He's been booed here, he's been cheered here, and he has resented it. He feels 2 straight MVP years in a Cincinnati uniform. He shouldn't be booed.
Outside, 3-2. Candelaria, this is his second National League Championship Series game. He started the 3rd and last game of the 75 series against Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. Tap foul. He allowed only 1 hit. That was a 2nd inning home run by Concepcion in the first 7 2/3 innings in that game. Held a 2-1 lead, but pinch hitter Rettman walked, Rose homered, Morgan doubled, and Candelaria was out. Reds won the game 5-3 in 10 innings. Candelaria didn't get a decision, but he certainly pitched well. He's no stranger to Candyman. Well hit. Moreno. Parker, it's Moreno. 2 outs.
If Candelaria's rib cage is bothering him or his lower back, he's had that problem. It sure doesn't show so far. He's thrown a couple good sliders, and that ball got in the kitchen of Joe Morgan and on the fist.
But I think you saw a couple of those sliders, Tony. What will happen if he is, in effect, going to be bothered by the lack of activity, and that is that those sliders were up and they were flat. He wasn't getting the bite down and away from Joe Morgan, and I think he would normally see off John Candelaria.
Here's Concepcion, hitting .281, 16 home runs. Low, ball 1. Concepcion, 31 years old, 6'1", 180. Lives in Maracay, Venezuela. Boy, he's developed from a skinny youngster, shy, to just a tremendous ball player.
They didn't think he'd hit when he first came up.
I was hoping he wouldn't hit.
That's a foul ball out of play. 2 balls and 1 strike. Joe Garagiola with Tony Kubek and Don Sutton here at Riverfront. The first game of the championship series. And tomorrow night, the American League starts. Bouncing ball, Foley has it. 3 up, 3 down for Cincinnati. Signs all over the place. Pennant fever is here in Cincinnati, and it's Tom Seaver against Willie Stargell. Top of the 2nd, no score. Inside, ball 1. Don, it seems to me that sometimes you'd be able to catch Stargell when he's pumping that bat.
I've tried that, and I seem to never catch him in between swings.
That's out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike.
He always managed to get it set, Joe. A lot of guys use things like that to get their timing and to time the ball when it's on the way to the plate.
Can't catch him, no, huh?
No, I never have. He's caught me a few times. Tom's doing what he said he was going to do, though. He's going to keep the ball in on him.
Good fastball against a good fastball hitter. And that's as good a cut as you can see.
Seaver, the last couple of years especially, has thrown a couple different kinds of fastball. That one looked like he turned over, Don.
I think he did. Like he says, he's changed his style somewhat. It's an off-speed pitch.
Out of play.
I think most people are in agreement that Willie Stargell is at the stage in his career right now where he has more bat speed in the last couple of years, but most of his effective swings are taken against the in-between speed balls, not the changeups and not the fastballs.
Didn't get it.
Well, so Stargell goes down, and before the day today, we asked Johnny McNamara, the Cincinnati manager, what his pitching rotation might be for the remainder of this championship series against the Pirates.
Well, our pitching plans, Tony, we start Tom Seaver and follow him with Frank Pastore, and Frank has pitched very well since returning from Indianapolis. He won 2 key ball games for us down the stretch, and we feel that he is up to it. He's a very confident young man with good ability. Mike Lacoste will follow him on Friday in Pittsburgh, and after that we'll just have to see in what develops.
John Milner pops it up. Johnny Bench and Dreesen. Who's going to take it? Dreesen takes it, as any smart catcher will do, but Bench is good under those pop fouls.
Yeah, a little help from Tommy Seaver. Like all pitchers do, Seaver ran down to the first base line with the noise of the crowd. Seaver wanted to make sure that they didn't call for the ball at the same time, and he helped prevent a collision right there.
Once you turn that ball loose, you have nothing else to do out there, Tony. And if you can direct traffic and help people out, back up some bases, that makes everybody else's job a lot easier, and is going to end up making yours a lot easier, too.
Bill Madlock with 2 outs and nobody on. Out of play, strike 1. Seaver, in his last 22 starts, he has a 14-1 record. 7 no decisions in his last 22 starts. 14-1 from June 9. Amazing. Down the third base line, gonna be a tough play. He's got to hustle. He'll not get him. Base hit for Bill Madlock.
And now Madlock, who has stolen 21 bases in a Pirate uniform, he may challenge Seaver. Tanner's let him run. Here's the replay on that. Looked like a sinker that he chopped down in the dirt. Knight had moved back. Madlock doesn't butt a whole lot. Wisely decided not to throw, but we could see Tanner start the running game right now off Tom Seaver, and that's going to be an interesting confrontation. Madlock against Bench's arm, if he goes.
Well, I'd have to bet on Mr. Bench.
I think I would, too. Tom doesn't hold people on. He doesn't have a good move over there, but he does a good job of holding people on, and you can do those 2 separate things. You can have a good move and not hold people on well.
Got to find out about that. How?
Well, if you can vary your deliveries to first and vary your delivery to the plate, you might not have a good pickoff move, but you never give the guy at first base the same look twice. You give him something to look at differently, and it throws his timing off. Most runners will time a pitcher.
Head out, takes it outside for ball 1.
Like that pitch, Tom just came set through to the plate. Before, he had stepped off, stepped back on, lobbed over, stepped off, stepped back on. If you can vary your delivery and give a guy multiple looks. A little bit longer.
There he goes. There's a throw. Madlock wins it. He's safe. Johnny Bench's throw was low. So Madlock, a stolen base. That's his 33rd stolen base.
Here it comes from our camera in left center field, coming right at you. You're seeing just what the shortstop sees. Bench had a good pitch to throw on. It was high and away from the left-handed hitter, so there was nobody in his way. He threw a sinker. This guy has become a very aggressive player, Bill Madlock.
We were talking to Chuck Tanner before the game, and he had a long talk, he said, with Madlock, and just said to him things like, you know how to play the game, but I don't think you're using your legs enough. You're a pretty good all-around ball player. Steal when you think you have a good jump. Just go ahead. I'll not blame you for any aggressive mistakes. 2 balls, no strikes. Hot. Doesn't get it. 2-1 to count. 2 outs.
Tony, Joe, here's another look at that steal. Bill Madlock didn't run as much with other ball clubs, but Chuck Tanner does not have a steal sign with most of his players. He tells them to go ahead till I stop you. Madlock was in there easily.
Good fastball. I'd love to have the speed on that one. That sounded 98 miles an hour. 2 balls and 2 strikes, 2 outs. Bill Madlock is on at second base. We're in the top of the second inning. No score. Garner is the on-deck batter. Seaver is going out after Ed Ott. Ott, who hit 273. High, ball 3. Not counting Candelaria, that is the lowest average in the Pirate lineup, 273. And Foster is way over in left field towards the line, like he doesn't think that Ott will be able to get around on Seaver. Johnny Bench, foul tip, popped out of his glove and made the catch. So that ends the inning, and the Pittsburgh Pirates do not score. We go to the bottom half of the second inning. And watch this ball, the foul tip just pop out of the glove. You can't practice this play, it just happens.
That's a
Johnny Bench very alertly picks it like picking cherries. So, due up for the Cincinnati Reds in the bottom of the second. Foster, Bench, and Knight. Capacity crowd, and all day long here in Cincinnati you can just sense the excitement, the pennant fever, except for this guy. What is he reading?
How to play baseball.
A scouting report.
The Art of Hitting by Joe Garagiola. Got to be the dullest book in the world. How do you like that? People are just clamoring for seats, and this guy uses it as a library.
I bet those are free seats. I bet somebody gave them to him.
I hope not.
How about those season stats for a guy that missed 40 ball games? 30 home runs, 98 runs batted in. He struggled near the end, though.
Don, this is all part of his attack that's making the pitcher wait, isn't it?
It is, and he'll talk to you about it in between games, like if you're not pitching, and he'll kid you about it, and we'll talk some more about it later.
Strike 1.
George will tell you, he said, when I get in there and when I'm delaying, it's just my way of getting ready, but he says, I'm always watching you, so you don't quick pitch me.
Curveball is low, 1 ball, 1 strike. Did you ever quick pitch him?
I tried to last time they were in L.A., and I had the ball out in front of me, was all set to throw it, and I looked in, and sure enough, George is looking, and just as I got ready to turn the ball loose, he stepped out. Call time.
Here's the 1-1 pitch to Foster. Bouncing ball. Foley's got a big hop. Should be an easy out. It is. Foster is out. We'll pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television network. Joe Garagiola with Tony Kubek and Don Sutton, Riverfront Stadium on a nice, cool, crisp evening. In the high 50s here, a perfect night for baseball. We're in the bottom of the second inning, and it's no score. 1 out, nobody on, Johnny Bench. Outside, ball 1. Guys, I overheard a conversation. The question has been asked, what effect Pete Rose not being here, what effect has it had on the club? Well, it hadn't had too much effect since they won, if you want to measure it that way. But somebody asked Johnny Bench, down the left field line, it is pull foul. And he said, Pete Rose not being here, what does it mean? And I thought he put in focus when he said, you're talking to me, aren't you?
That's true.
And I kind of think that's the feeling.
I think that they think that the attention and the credit for winning is being spread around just a little bit more.
Well, guys like Concepcion, Foster, Dreesen, Griffey, who is on the injured list, getting credit. There's the strike. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Good fastball.
And one of those pitcher strikes we were talking about earlier.
Bench, 31 years old. Well hit, left center field, way back Moreno, back, off the wall, extra bases. Johnny Bench has 2. He's rounding second. He's digging for third. He'll make it a triple.
Johnny Bench really went out and got it. Looked like a fastball down that was out of way, but he is so strong and so quick, and he likes to reach out for it. But look at this. It might have been the outside part of the plate. Reached out and almost took it out left center field. A little tip-off here as Milner, who might be the weakest defensively, gets the ball in, and he throws the ball to Foley in short center field. He didn't even try to throw the ball to his cutoff man, going to third base.
Johnny Bench, who in 1979 did not hit a triple, hits one here in the bottom of the second, and it brings up Ray Knight. He was the man who had to fill the shoes of Pete Rose, and what a year he had. Hit 318. Full foul past Johnny Bench, strike one. Knight, 10 home runs.
See the reason right here, tip for some of you kids, why you take your leadoff third base in foul territory. If the ball hits you, of course, and you're in fair territory, you're out. Bench takes it and foul.
Knight's a big guy, 6'2", 185 pounds, 26 years old, born and lives in Albany, Georgia.
Infield's halfway, now it's moving closer.
Did he go around? Kibler says yes, and it's strike two. Knight was Cincinnati's 10th draft choice in June of 1970. Began his professional career in 1971. Ray Knight up there now with a count of 2 strikes. Bench at third. 1 out, no score. Candelaria goes for the strikeout, and he gets it. And boys, he was humming.
Joe, I'll tell you what you saw right there, though, with 1 out this early in the ball game is quite a tribute to Tom Seaver as we look at the strike zone, because Tanner, this early in the ball game, second inning, had his infield in. He knows he's in for a low-run ball game with Seaver out there. The chances are pretty good. There's Tanner. Very early in the ball game to have your infield play where they were.
Here is Danny Dreesen. Dreesen hit 250 with 18 home runs, 75 runs batted in. Outside, ball one.
A guy who really didn't have the kind of year that you would expect from a Danny Dreesen, Joe and Tony. But he did hit 18 home runs, and he is a lethal weapon. He can take you deep anytime, and I think that he's going to be heard from very strongly before this is over.
Curveball is a beauty. Don, we talked to Tanner, and Tanner says that when Candelaria drops his arm, that's the tip-off that he's losing it or he's getting tired. But I got to say, he looks pretty good to me.
He threw 3 great fastballs to Ray Knight, and those are a couple good breaking balls right there. And another one.
Last 2 pitches to Dreesen. He's dropped down, not because he's tired, because he wants to try and get Dreesen backing up, get him on his heels. He threw him a couple breaking balls. He'll do that to left-handed hitters at times. He has good control for a hard-throwing left-hander. I guess that's a misnomer that left-handers don't have control.
You really don't expect them to, but I think you're right. I think it is a misnomer.
There's the strike on the outside corner. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Candelaria in 79 averaged only 1.8 walks per 9 innings. That's the best rate of his career. Lifetime is 2.2 per 9 innings.
4 straight breaking balls away from Danny Dreesen. He's going to make him go out and get the ball.
Hit his bat with a fastball. He threw 4 breaking balls, as Don Sutton told you, and then came inside with the fastball. Dreesen, 28 years old.
Trying to move him back off the plate, Don.
Ooh. Now that allows him to do 2 things here. He can either come back in there with a strike or he can go away with the breakable. I think he'd probably go away.
Fastball, and he blew it by him. He just reared back and played good old country hardball. So that ends the inning at the end of 2 innings here. Pittsburgh nothing, Cincinnati nothing. Well, there's one man in this ballpark, Neil Armstrong, that knows what it's like to walk on the moon. And that's what the people of Cincinnati, a capacity crowd, watching this game. It's nippy, as you can see by that family. And that youngster with his Cincinnati red hat. And they're watching quite a pitcher's battle so far between Tom Seaver and John Candelaria. Gardner takes it low, and Johnny Bench picks it up like he had a tweezer in his hand.
Johnny Bench is such a great catcher, and he does it with so much ease. You have to see why pitchers like to pitch in this ballpark and why pitchers like to pitch to him.
Ball gets by Johnny Bench. No damage, 2 balls and no strikes. No pitcher ever looks wild with him behind the plate.
You know what threw me the first time I ever played with Johnny Bench at an all-star game was that he doesn't really give you a long target like somebody else does. He is so sure of himself, and he has such good hands that he just reaches out and flicks the ball.
Well hit to right field. Hollis is going back, maybe out of here. It is a home run for Gardner. That is his 12th home run of the year, and the Pirates lead 1-0.
These are the little guys. They've got them on both teams. You hear the names Stargell and Parker and Bench and Foster. And he gave a little wink, I believe, to his wife up in the stands. Phil Garner. There's Tanner leading the parade. Skinner. Here it is. It looked like a fastball down. And this little guy is strong. He's kind of, I hate to use the word physical fitness nut, but he does a lot of exercise. He got all of it out of the field.
You know, from our angle, it's kind of tough to tell, but there are a lot of balls hit well that we say are bad pitches, and that did not look like too bad of a pitch.
Candelaria, count of strike 2. Well, Don, you talked about this Pirate lineup, and you finished up by saying the 8th place hitter, Phil Garner, hit .293 with 11 home runs. That gives you an idea of the balance, and that shows you because he hit his 12th as Candelaria is down on strikes.
Ray Shaw is a man they call a super scout for the Cincinnati Reds, and he scouted this Pittsburgh Pirate Ball Club the last 2 weeks, and here's what he had to say about the Pirates and what the key may be.
Well, Tony, one of the key parts, I believe, is everybody thinks about the Stargells and the Parkers, but Bill Matlock has been playing some kind of super ball, hitting in some real key runs. Garner at second base has done a heck of a job and driving in tough runs, and even the shortstop Foley has really made that ball club go, especially when Marino hasn't been hitting the last couple of weeks, and these guys have really picked
Whoa!
Inside the park.
Watch him go. This may be an inside to Parker. Watch him go. Moreno is digging. He wants to come, but Lonette will hold him at third.
One reason it was is because Heidi Cruz really hustled. You could see the ball hit a slick area on a water spot out there in right field, and it just tore, really handcuffed and just tore Collins, the right fielder, up. Look at the water. But Cruz, all the way to dead right field, prevented Omar Moreno from an inside to Parker.
So the Pirates, with 1 run in, have Moreno at third base, 1 out, and Tim Foley, who bounced out, is the batter as Cruz runs it down. There he is, hustling. And Moreno, boy, he turned it on when he got near second base. Infield is in. Ball 1.
And we're looking at a hitter who is going to put the ball in play, Joe. He's going to give them a chance to get that run in. I doubt very seriously if you're going to see Tim Foley strike out.
He went for the long knock. 1 ball, 1 strike. Moreno, a triple. Gardner opened the inning with a home run. And Foley's up there with a count of 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out. Collins has it. Moreno's tagging up. It looks like it'll be deep enough. We're going to have... Whoops, he didn't make an attempt.
I think, Joe, you find that these Pirates, not just base stealing, will try and take advantage of the throwing arms of the Cincinnati outfield. An artificial surface, of course, will play a little bit deeper to cut off the alleys. But Collins does not have a good arm in right field. Foster gets rid of the ball slowly in left. And Cruz is, well, Geronimo is really the best defensive center fielder along with Blair on the Cincinnati Ball Club. So they're going to be running, taking the extra base if they can. He's mad for not blocking that ball hit at him in right field.
Yeah, I think you touched on something very key there. He's not mad about not being able to throw the guy out, but I think he would have liked to have stayed back and given him the sure single.
So the Pirates are in front, 2-0. We're in the third. Parker, a fastball. Ball 1. Parker was out. Dreesen unassisted his first time up. Local boy. One ball, 1 strike.
I think we overwork it a lot of times, Joe and Tony, in calling a lot of things classic confrontation, but that last pitch was your classic confrontation. A Tom Seaver fastball and a Dave Parker hard swing. Might see it again.
Two balls and 1 strike. First game of the championship series, National League. Tomorrow night, Baltimore and California go at it. Ryan and Palmer, what a matchup. Fastball. 3 balls, 1 strike. A lot of cameras, a lot of coverage here. One guy looked like he came all the way from Australia. Foul out of play. Ryan and Palmer, Baltimore, California. And we'll be right here for another battle between Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. These two clubs have really battled in these championship series.
Does Parker look big to you from here?
I imagine he looks a lot bigger to you when you're on the
60
mound.
feet, 6 inches away, he looks a lot bigger. And I just figured out why. He was 14 pounds when he was born.
He's fighting off some tough pitches.
I'll tell you, there's Stargell on deck following Parker. He's another big man who's had a big year for this ball club. But Parker is the kind of guy, from what I've seen, you try and get the ball inside and high on him. He may have a blind spot, but he can fight the ball off. I've got to imagine that to try and pitch him away, you're taking your life in your hands on the mound.
Well, he has long arms. He's very strong. And if he extends, he can hit it out as easily and left as anywhere else.
Talking about hitting it back at you, though. You go away on it.
Oh, he can hit it back at you from any place. But you're
Parker
right.
draws the base on balls, and he's on with 2 outs. 2 runs are in, and here is Stargell. Stargell was out on strikes. Look at him back off, man. He just seems to bend like he's on hinges.
Well, you're right. When he's hitting, I try to keep it in him. I figure Garvey and Lopes, when I'm pitching against him, are a lot farther away from him than I am. And a lot more time to react and a lot better reflexes.
Ball 1, Parker at first. A home run by Garner has opened the inning, a triple by Moreno, and a sacrifice fly.
And on Sunday, in almost a similar situation, with Stargell up, Parker took off. He was thrown out against the Cubs in that important game. But Tanner will let his guys run, even with a guy like Stargell, to pull hitter up.
1 ball, 1 strike. Tom Seaver trailing by 2. And in the pregame show with Brian Gumbel, John McNamara, Cincinnati manager, said he'd let Seaver work on jams, and he's in 1 now. 2 balls and 1 strike. Parker's at first. Stargell ahead of the hitter. Seaver trailing by 2. Here's the manager's delight. He may be running the big guy at first.
And Tom Seaver thinks he might be running too.
Holding. Curveball misses. 3 balls and 1 strike. There's McNamara, who said he'd let him pitch out of trouble. Next to him is the pitching coach, Bill Fisher. Pittsburgh coach, Al Monchok. He's at first base. Parker's holding. And Stargell is on, a base on balls, and Seaver is really digging himself a hole here.
Don, it's interesting, and I want to ask you this question. You're a veteran pitcher, Seaver is obviously, but a guy who might steal, and Pirates have a lot of them, and you know that Tanner's got a running game. Can that attention still be divided even though you're a veteran pitcher?
Oh, yes, very definitely. Especially a club that has a reputation for stealing, a club that has been very successful stealing, and after you've pitched a while, you can pretty well figure out the situations in which clubs are going to run. And I think right there you had a very good situation for Parker. Parker can steal a lot of bases. He just really doesn't have to.
Manny Sarmiento starts to loosen up for the Cincinnati Reds along the right field line. A home run by Garner opened it up here to the opposite field. Candelaria was out on strikes. Moreno tripled the ball. 1 hopper got by Collins. Foley a sacrifice fly to right. Driving in Moreno, and Parker and Stargell have walked, and that's how we stand. Milner in the batter's box. Ball 1. He's missing all over.
Seaver has thrown a lot more fastballs. They're the base runners, Parker and Stargell. Second and first, a lot more fastballs than I expected him this early in the ball game.
Popped up, short center field. Morgan's going out. He's taking charge. Morgan makes the play. That ends the inning. But Pittsburgh takes the lead as they get 2 runs. A home run by Garner. And so we go to the bottom of the 3rd. It is a 2-0 Pittsburgh lead. It'll be Cruz, Tom Seaver, and Dave Collins for Cincinnati in the 3rd. Joe Garagiola with Tony Kubek, joined with Don Sutton, who will be with us throughout this series. Don Sutton from the Los Angeles Dodgers, and in the American League, it'll be Dick Enberg, Wes Parker, and Sparky Anderson will be joining over there. We'll be listening to old Spark as we, on NBC, very proud to bring you these championship series. And we've got a dandy going here already. Bottom of the 3rd, 2-0 Pittsburgh leading. Here is Heidi Cruz. Strike 1. Was he a happy youngster yesterday, Tony?
Oh. He is known as Heidi, real name Hector. Quite a family of brothers. Was he happy? You can see by the smile on his face when he showed the do-up just an inning before. He's one of the little guys on this ball club who's really helped when the injuries and the troubles popped up for Cincinnati and McNamara.
1 ball and 1 strike. Cruz, 227 average, 4 home runs. He did a job in that outfield. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Don, I want to ask you, we'll be getting a lot of shots from center field. I just want you to watch the catches and see how similar, if they are, as we look at Tom Seaver in the on-deck circle, their signs are to what you use.
All right. I was just watching Ott then and call fastball and then outside.
Looked like a breaking ball, though, didn't it?
On the pitch before, Joe. I'm 0 for 6 tonight. I said, remember I told you Seaver was going to go with soft stuff and into power. He's gone all power. So now's a good time for him to come in. He strikes a guy out away. I got to get a bigger Ouija board if I'm going to do this.
1 ball and 2 strikes.
Fastball away. Here we go.
It was right field. Dave Parker. Plenty of room, plenty of time. 1 out.
The third voice you hear in our booth is Don Sutton, the Dodger great, who's set all kinds of records. Here, championship series, Cincinnati, 4-1 over the Pirates. You can see what happened 70 through 76. Beat the Pirates 3 straight. Pirates won 1 in 72. Lost to the Mets since Pittsburgh did. But there you see what happened. But I started to say before that popped up, Joe, that Don's going to fit right in with us. As we go along guessing, we've done it for years, and you keep guessing wrong like that, you're going to be right in our mold.
1 strike on Tom Seaver. The difference up here is that you can say, check that.
Oh, I love that.
Erase it.
There have been so many innings I've wanted to erase.
Seaver, a good hitter. Foul tip, and it's 2 quick strikes. Seaver, he's got 2 home runs in 1979. He's got 11 home runs lifetime. He homered in Atlanta, and he homered against the Mets. 1 out, nobody on. Bottom of the 3rd, 2-0 Pittsburgh. He's out on strikes. He tried to chase a bad ball, tried to hold up. That's the 3rd strikeout for Candelaria.
Candelaria is known basically for a power pitcher in a way, and here he comes with that fastball away. Just off the strike zone. Tom took a typical pitcher swing at it that time. But he has, what, 4 strikeouts in a row now? And all of them with the power? No, I'm sorry. Heidi Cruz flied to center. But 3 out of his last 4 outs, and especially those 2 when he had men on base.
There's the strike.
I think it's interesting that he's gone with the power. There's Chuck Tanner once again, because he's battled that ribcage injury most of the season, and many teams who have seen him say that he's gone more to the breaking stuff this year, but not tonight. He's smoking.
Up the middle. Gardner's going to have a tough play. He'll not get him.
Well, Dave Collins got about 25 of those this year. He might be, in fact, I'm sure he is the fastest man with just sheer foot speed on this Cincinnati ball club. Gardner knows he's going to have to unload in a hurry. It's off balance, and you can see the speed right there. There's another angle.
Tony, he also gets out of that batter's box in a hurry for a right-handed hitter, probably faster than any other right-handed hitter in the National League. You expect a left-hander to do it, but for a right-hander to come out of there that quick.
Candelaria really tried to get that. He was an outstanding basketball player. He was selected to an All-American prep team. He was the all-time school scorer with Sal Academy in New York. I know son Steve played against him, and he came home talking about this guy, and then I see him in a Pittsburgh uniform. Tremendous athlete is Morgan. Takes it outside for ball 1. Morgan, his first time up, fly to center field. Chuck Tanner, in talking to him before the game, we said, how about Candelaria? He said, I think he's ready, and when he tells me he wants the ball, I give it to him. Bouncing ball to the second baseman, Gardner. To Stargell. And Morgan is out. That ends the inning, so we complete 3 innings of baseball here. Pittsburgh 2, Cincinnati nothing. That is what the Pittsburgh players use as the leaded bat. Madlock hits the first pitch straight up, and Morgan says, I'll take it. He does.
That's how you make the club, Tony and Joe. If you can swing that, then you make the Pirates. You can hit.
Look at that now. That is just a hunk of lead wrapped in tape, and there's the rest of the equipment, the donut, the pine tar. If they ever want to do one of those detergent commercials, I'd love to see them use one of those and see.
Take the pine tar rag.
That's right. Get the pine tar rag. Show me something. Curveball low and inside, and it's ball one. 2-0 to score. Pittsburgh out in front. They scored 2 in the third. A home run by Garner, triple by Moreno, and a sacrifice fly by Foley. Hit hot. Chases a bad ball. 1 ball, 1 strike. When you see a guy do that, do you fall in love with that pitch? You want to just keep coming back with it?
One right after the other. And Ed has a reputation for liking to hit the high fastball, but also wanting to swing at it when it's a little up out of the strike zone.
He stayed outside, high, 2 balls and 1 strike. Do you climb the ladder, or do you try to stay in the same spot?
Yeah, I do. If I have a good fastball, which is infrequently, I'll go right on up. Because usually if they hit it well, they're going to hit it up high.
Seaver's behind, 3 balls and 1 strike.
Don, Seaver talks very often about using the lower part of his body to generate his thrust and his speed, and we're going to try and get you a shot of him. And he drags that right foot. Sometimes the knee actually touches the ground.
If you watch him here, Tony, he is what you call, all the Met pitchers in the early 60s used is called a drop in the drive. You see that back leg really pushing him off. And that was called drop and drive. Guys like myself use tilt and topple.
I thought it was interesting on that slow-mo that Kenny Fouch, our director, got for us, how the Seaver knee, it used to be a tip for him. One year he went into a pitching slump, and he found out by reviewing films that that knee wasn't low enough. He was throwing more with his arm.
Well, it works well for him. There's, what, 200 strikeouts over 10 years.
Bouncing ball sneaks through, and Ed Ott has himself a base hit. I like that tilt and topple. Who was your pitching coach? Foster Brooks?
Lefty Phillips was the first pitching coach I had. But I have this theory. It's the old Jim Bunning way of pitching, that you throw the ball and fall off to the left. Now, there's a good reason for that. It's tougher to hit a moving target than it is a guy who stands still.
Okay, we'll buy that. Ed Ott is on, and Phil Garner. He hit the home run in the 3rd inning. He's the batter.
Seriously, talking about Tom Seaver, he generates so much strength with the lower part of his body, his upper legs, and even his rear end.
Well hit, center field. Cruz is there. He makes the catch, and Ott heads back. Seaver, if you look at his right knee, you can see how he dirties his uniform as he drags through there. You'll see the dirt mark there, and if it's not there, you know he's not dragging it.
There it is.
We remember Kuzman, Buzz Capra, a lot of the Met pitchers who pitched back then. Nolan Ryan is cut out of that mold where they really get down low and drive toward the hitter.
Gary Gentry was another one. In the hole, Concepcion will try for the force. No, he goes all the way. Bounces the ball. How about that? It's a practice play, Tony.
That is not a surprise play to anybody that has seen Concepcion play shortstop. He devised that a couple of years ago. He works on it. An artificial surface, you get a true hop, the ball skips. It's a design play, and it's a thing of beauty.
It was a beautiful play. That ends the inning. We go to the bottom of the 4th. It is Pittsburgh 2, Cincinnati nothing. It'll be Concepcion who made that great play. Foster and Johnny Bench.
Let's see David Concepcion from a little different angle, right from behind him. Well, here it is. You got to remember, Ott's on first base. There are a couple of out. If Candelaria does beat this out, what a beautiful play. It's 1st and 2nd, and Moreno up. So you can see what kind of hot water Seaver might have been in. And there's the man who made the play, Concepcion. And I've said this before, but somehow Venezuela, from Carrascal through Aparicio and now Concepcion, that's a natural resource for him. Oil and shortstops.
That play he made on grass, Don, we were talking about it, would not have been made, so he takes advantage of everything.
Well, 2 things going against him. The ball would have been a little slower coming off the bat, and secondly, he could not have skipped it over there. And how many times does a guy who makes the great play lead off the inning?
Isn't that the truth? And it is Dave Concepcion. He bounced out his first time up, and it's ball 1. 2-0. The Pittsburgh Pirates lead Cincinnati in this first game of the championship series. We'll be back here tomorrow, airtime 3 o'clock Eastern time. And tomorrow night, California at Baltimore. Nolan Ryan against Jim Palmer. 2 balls and no strikes.
We talked about Concepcion having a little trouble with that thumb on his right finger. He had surgery on it, I guess a couple of years ago for a ligament damage. And you will see at times his right hand fly off the bat. He can't hold the bat and control it.
Base hit. Concepcion is on, and it brings up George Foster, and he can get him out of any ballpark.
We've talked a lot about the Pittsburgh Pirates' speed, but we shouldn't overlook the fact that Cincinnati can steal some bases too. And this guy on first right here probably doesn't have the numbers of a Marino, but he is as good a base runner as there is in the National League.
Concepcion could steal 50 bases a year, I believe, except he's batting third this year, and you're not going to take the bat out of the hands of this guy or Johnny Bench, Foster or Bench.
There he goes. Oh, this game's tied. Whoa.
The strength of George Foster is awesome. Everybody knows it, and here he proves it once again. It's probably 395 to 400 feet to the wall where he hit it. Another, 30 or 40 feet back is the wall, and it goes up another 50 feet. That ball's 450 if it's an inch.
Had to be, Tony. And not to beat a dead horse, but we mentioned earlier that it's not always a bad pitch that gets hit out of the ballpark, and that pitch was down just above his knees, out away from George Foster, and he just flat crushed it. That's all he did.
Well, this crowd came to life as we look at Mr. Red, who roams the stands. We're tied at 2 apiece, and Johnny Bench is up there with a 1-1 count. And now it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. George Foster, his 3rd home run in championship series. And Dave Concepcion was breaking. He had a tremendous jump. But Foster, who has hit him into the way deep confines here, really crushed it.
How's that for hit and run?
Perfect.
There he is.
I tell you, that's almost like that old story of Luke Appling and Zeke Bonora. Appling says, when I hit it, you run. And that's what Concepcion did. Foster hit it, and he ran. Perfect hit and run. Foul ball out of play. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Don, does that shock a pitcher? Now, here's Candelaria, who's been throwing very well.
Oh.
And he throws it, looks like a good pitch, and it's bombed out on him.
Hey, when you're in a good groove and you're throwing as well as Candelaria has been, that's about the rudest thing that can happen to you. And it can have some carryover effect, too.
Pull foul. George Foster, who's a quiet man, a dedicated man, he says, I don't want to hurt the ball, I just want to bruise it.
Well, he took care of that. He bruised that one very well.
He really hit that hard. But then he also has that theory that you swing a 36-ounce bat and hit a 4-ounce ball, something's got to happen. 2-2 pitch. Remains at 2-2. Chuck Tanner.
Watching very closely right now, because I really don't think, with the fact that Candelaria hasn't pitched a lot in the last month, I really don't think Chuck will stay with him too long.
A tough competitor, this left-hander. High hopper, Madlock, can't hold it. Bench is on. Johnny Bench's second base hit. Watch it.
Johnny Bench runs surprisingly well. You can see that Madlock was playing him off the line. When he had to retreat, he knew the speed of Bench. And I'll get Joe mad when I say this, Don, but he runs well for a catcher.
Oh, very well for a catcher.
He does, you bet.
Well.
And he knew he had to hurry and unload, and he just may have taken his eye off the ball.
Well, bench is on, nobody out. That was well said for a shortstop, Tony.
And Pittsburgh is starting somebody in the bullpen, Joe. It looks like Don Robinson down there.
That's who it is. Misses Ray Knight. Down the left field line, but foul. His crowd on a beautiful night for baseball here. There you see Robinson. He was in our game Saturday, and I hope baseball fans saw that one. We had a tremendous game on Saturday, and what coverage. Defensive plays like you've never seen. Buckner's play, I still talk about it. Diving, stop, and Rennie Stennett slashed and kept the season going one more day. Ray Knight, third and batting. Fouls it out of play.
They've been talking about Knight over the last 2 months as bench retreats to first base. How much better a two-strike hitter Knight has become. Early in the year, they used to get him out on bad breaking balls. He'd go after bad pitches, but Kluszewski's worked with him, trying to be patient. Moved him up on the plate, up on the bat, trying to hit the right field. Wait that split second longer by going the opposite way.
Tony, what a job he did. He hit .318. That's third in the league. Keith Hernandez led the National League. Fred Lynn, the American League. Our congratulations to them. Hit foul. In fact, while we got a chance here, it's Hernandez at .344, Rose .331, Knight .318, Garvey .315, Harner and Templeton at .314. So where they ended up, the batting leaders. American League, Lynn .333, Brett .329, Downing .326, Rice .325, Oliver .323, and Molitor .322. Fastball, 1 ball, 2 strikes. So Knight, under tremendous pressure, a big year.
It can't be easy being the guy who's supposed to fill Pete Rose's shoes, and hitting .318. He might have taken a lot of people off the hook this year with that average.
Boy, I should say. Bouncing ball could be 2. There is 1. The throw, it is 4-6-3. Garner, Foley, and over to Stargell.
A pitcher's best friend. Oh, we love those. Looks like a fastball out of way. Knight hits a ground ball to Garner. Plays a nice little shovel toss. Gives Foley plenty of time, and he makes a nice throw to Stargell.
This is not a fast defensive infield as we look at the double play from behind, and you see exactly with bench coming in how Tim Foley unloaded and made him get down.
High chopper, Stargell short hop. Now he's going to put up the bridge. You're not getting by me, big guy. So that ends the inning, but it's a good inning for Cincinnati. A 2-run homer by Foster ties it at the end of 4 innings of baseball here. Pirates 2, the Reds 2, and due up for Pittsburgh in the 5th, Omar Moreno and Tim Foley and the franchise Dave Parker. They'll be batting for Pittsburgh. There is Ray Shore, the super scout of Cincinnati, his wife, and to Shore's left is Woody Woodward, who works for the Cincinnati Reds. Jim Russo, Bill Whirl of Baltimore here. Howie Haig, Pittsburgh here. They're all seated back there scouting. Tony, we got a dandy, all tied at 2 apiece.
Moreno, Foley, Parker for Pittsburgh facing Tom Seaver. For the Pirates, 2 runs, 4 hits, no errors. For the Reds, 2 runs, 5 hits, no errors. A big George Foster home run tied it up, and he really got a big hand when he went out to his left field position. Moreno has grounded out, he has tripled, and he has scored a run. There's Foster. 1 ball, 1 strike to Moreno. Two and 1. Well, in Brian Kimball's pregame show, we heard McNamara say that Seaver, he didn't really say he was going to have a rough 3 innings, but he intimated that if Seaver was going to be gotten to, it would be early in the ball game, and then he would settle down. Well, we're kind of past early in the ball game now. He's gone 3 balls, 1 strike on Moreno. Knight in tight at 3rd. Concepcion's going to have to hurry. He got good play.
Great play.
Good play by Dave. He's gone right, taking a base hit away from Candelaria. Now he goes left. He takes a base hit away from Moreno. What range?
I think the big thing about this play, Tony, is that he comes up with it and is able to get as much on the throw as he did because he was actually running away from that bag towards right field.
There was no doubt in Tom Seaver's mind that when that ball got by him, it was a base hit all the way because he kicked his right foot out and tried to stop it with his leg. Somehow Davey made it. Now it's Foley. Knocked down by Knight, but Foley will be on. So with one out, Tim Foley with a single off the glove of Ray Knight. It'll bring up Dave Parker.
You know, if we happen to get another look at that, Ray Knight is the kind of guy, like a guy we have on our club, Mickey Hatcher, who goes after everything that he can, tries to catch everything, and I think there probably Davey Concepcion had a better shot at that than he did. But he makes a third baseman like that makes a shortstop job so much easier because he gets to so many of those top balls like that.
Ray Knight does not have good running speed, but he has a quickness about him.
Mr. Rickey used to give great speeches on that and called the subject was called Errors of Enthusiasm.
It's a good way to put it.
So now with one out, Foley's at first base. Parker, he has a good cut, but he fouls it back. Might have been a little late. He has popped up and he has walked, Parker. He really ended the season on a tear. 21 hits and 39 at bats. The ball game we saw him, Joe, in that 13-inning game on Saturday, had 4 hits and a walk. Came back the next day and had a few more. 1 strike to Parker. 1-1.
Tony, we had a lot of fun with him because he had that kind of Muhammad Ali poem that when the leaves turn brown, I'll be wearing the batting crown. He said he must have got 50 letters with brown leaves in it. He said, when the leaves are turning, where are you?
1-1 pitch from Seaver. Fouled off again. Seaver going inside on him. But Parker is so strong, he can fight that pitch off. Foul it off, and if you make a mistake and get the ball over the plate, he can tear you up. But now Seaver's ahead. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 1 out. It's a 2-2 ball game. We're in the 5th.
I'll tell you how much Pittsburgh thinks of him. They insured this man for $3 million with Lloyd's of London.
Left field corner, but it's going to be slicing foul out of play.
A lot of the guys on the club kid him about being the world's biggest punch and Judy. Because a guy with that size, you automatically think he's going to hit 50 home runs every year, and he has a kind of swing where he really leads with his hands a little bit, and the bat drags back. He can hit the ball out of any ballpark anywhere, but they get a kick out of getting on him.
He's a line drive hitter, a strong line drive hitter. He doesn't have that little loop in his swing like a Stargell did, and still does a little out where he hits the long home runs, the high home runs. He hits them out on the line. 1-2 pitch. He went to a breaking ball, pulled in the Cincinnati dugout.
Tom Seaver's making some good pitches on him right now. Slider in on Dave Parker, and that's the book. You have to tie him up. You can't let him extend himself. Situation like this, 2-2 ball game. Tom Seaver's thrown a lot of pitches already. Took a little walk around the mound to give himself time to think about it.
1 ball, 2 strikes, 1 out. Dave Parker facing Tom Seaver. The game tied at 2. We're in the 5th, and Foley's on first base.
Bench giving 3 or 4 signs.
2-2.
Tony, Concepcion was trying to get Bench's attention. What would that be for? You have any idea? I mean, out the way out shortstop, because you got to believe he's covering with the left-hand batter up there.
Well, they're playing him about straight away, but they're giving him the middle of the diamond in the infield. Playing him deep and punching toward the middle because he's an alley hitter. Foul again, a breaking ball. Tom Seaver beat every team except the Pirates in 1979. He's had 1 no-decision start against Pittsburgh. That was Al Monchak down at first base, the coach. Foley being held by Dreesen. Big hole between Morgan at first and Dreesen, the first baseman.
Well, you can see that they don't expect him to really pull the ball.
Nope. 2-2 pitch with 1 out to Parker. Fouled off again. This ball club, the Pirates, do not walk. They are a free-swinging ball club. In fact, I've heard some pitchers, as we look at the defensive alignment against Parker, they're bunched in the middle of the outfield. Look at the hole between Morgan and Dreesen. Second baseman and first baseman.
Almost totally straight away in the outfield, but you're right. They give him that big hole on the right side. I think that was more or less a courtesy throw. I really don't think they expect Foley to be going now.
Pirates had the fewest walks of any team in the National League this year. Hit hard. Could be two. A nice play by Davey. Here comes the throw from Morgan. And he's out at first base. Morgan really had to do a little ballet to get out of the way of Tim Foley. A hard slide. But Concepcion with his third good play.
A classic double play. Off balance, but he still gives him a good throw to handle, and look at that pivot.
We'll go to the last of the fifth here in Cincinnati. There's your score. It's all tied up at 2. Here's the inning-to-inning double play as Parker, who can run, and look at Foley. He really went after Joe Morgan, but even with the speed of Dave Parker, and he might be the fastest 6'5" or 6 man, about 230 that you'll find around in baseball. But now it's Candelaria with the score tied at 2 in the bottom of the fifth. And he'll pitch to Heidi Cruz, then Tom Seaver, and then the leadoff hitter, Dave Collins. Madlock up tight with the bag at third base. Chopped almost over his head. Long throw. He is out. You can see the dangers of playing in an artificial surface at third base as the ball almost got over his head again.
And this home plate area, Tony, is not one of the softest in the league. Balls hit down on it will take a bounce. You'll see the Reds getting a lot of base hits by hitting the ball down, having it take the high bounce on the turf, and with the speed they have, they beat him out. Another good play by Bill Madlock.
He's done a job for this Pittsburgh club in the last 3 weeks of the season.
Well, you know, nobody ever really talks too much about his glove. You mentioned his bat, but he's made some good plays tonight, and as you guys saw him last Saturday.
Last Saturday.
Made some good plays last Saturday. He's a good ball player.
Ray Shaw, the super scout of Cincinnati, said of him after watching him for 2 straight weeks and make all those really, really fine plays that he's had a bad rap. He does not have hard hands, he has soft hands. Here he goes again to his right. Accurate throw, he gets Seaver for 2 outs. Two down, score tied at 2.
We talked about Tom Seaver before being your drop and drive type pitcher. Candelaria is a little bit different. You can see he throws very erect, lands on a stiff front leg, and a couple of things you can look for. Usually a guy who is a drop and drive pitcher, as we watch Madlock replay on the play on Tom Seaver. Very accurate throw. Usually a guy who is a straight up pitcher, you can look for a couple of things. When he gets tired, he'll get the ball up. Also, a lot of them have a tendency to have back problems. A guy who is a drop and drive pitcher will keep the ball down, his ball will move better down, and he puts the weight and the burden of pitching on the muscles in his legs and other parts of his body.
Well, I think Candelaria, to back up what you say, Don, has had some elbow problems, and that snap on the arm is not absorbed by the lower part of the body. But now it's Collins, 1 ball, no strikes. Pirates got 2 runs in the 3rd inning off Seaver. 2 balls and no strikes. In that inning, Garner hit an opposite field home run, leading off the 3rd for the Pirates. Candelaria struck out. Moreno tripled as we look at Chuck Tanner with that.
And his book.
That ratty book. I hate to use the expression, but that's what it is. He's got stuff in there you can't believe. In fact, he was making a note right there on somebody. Now count goes 2 balls and 1 strike on Collins. But it was Moreno in the 3rd who tripled past Collins, and then a sacrifice fly by Foley. Those were the 2 runs in the 3rd for Pittsburgh. The runs for Cincinnati came in the 4th. Concepcion single. He was on the move, and Foster crushed a home run to left center field. So it's all tied at 2. Fouled off by Collins. 2-2, 2 outs.
We had a look at that book of Tanner's, and I tell you, Tony, that's a perfect word. It is the rattiest book I've ever seen. If you went to parochial school with that sister to make you wash the whole church.
You know, he's got a box full of them, though. One on almost every team. He keeps notes. Lynette keeps notes. Monchak keeps notes, and it's their scouting report.
But who can read them?
He apparently can decipher it. That's all that counts. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. 3-2 on Collins. No, he is not sleeping. Johnny McNamara, the general manager now of this ball club, Dick Wagner, his first year running the club, went out and made 2 unpopular decisions. Let go Sparky Anderson. Pete Rose got away, popped up to short left field. Foley is waved off by Miller. So Candelaria has a pretty easy inning, 3 up, 3 down. We'll go to the 6th with a score tied at 2. And the men do up. Willie Stargell, John Miller, and Bill Matlock. Joe Garagiola, Don Sutton, Dodger pitching great, Tony Kubek back here in Cincinnati, where it boils down now to what's turning out to be somewhat of a pitching duel. Seaver has settled down. Candelaria. Seaver will face Willie Stargell, leading off the 6th. There's a section of Pittsburgh Pirate wives.
And I think that
people in ownership have come in. Galbraith popped up in the infield, very high behind third base. Concepcion waves everyone off. 1 out.
some more of that Davey Concepcion range. He's out there in left field.
You know, the criterion that Casey Stengel used to use for judging a shortstop was not how well he threw from the hole, but how far he ranged into foul territory down the left field line to catch pop-ups. He always used Rizzuto for that. He said Phil Rizzuto went down near the foul pole. He may have exaggerated a little, but that showed the range of a shortstop. Concepcion showed it many times so far today. Now it's John Milner.
Would you call him a first ball fastball hitter?
I certainly would.
He loves to go to work early.
Call him the hammer. The enforcer in that clubhouse, when somebody goes in a little bit of a wrong direction, they get Milner on him.
He is the enforcer.
He's the enforcer.
You know, I'd like to see a scouting report once that said third ball changeup hitter.
1 ball, no strikes, 1 out. Hit hard to right field. Collins is going to have to hurry, but he cuts it off in right center field with that speed. So Milner hits it hard, but Collins showed that speed in right field, and he corrals it. 2 outs. Now it's Matlock.
Collins, great speed. And it looked like that ball was going to get over his head, but he cuts it down in a hurry.
He was not playing Milner very shallow. I mean, he was playing him very shallow, rather, I should say, so he had a long ways to go. So now with 2 outs, we're at the top of the 6th. Bill Matlock, who was singled, infield hit, stole a base and popped up off Seaver. 1 ball, looked like a slider down. Hard slider that he got down and away.
I think it was, Tony, and you know, I think we've scouted this guy really wrong for a lot of years. And I'll tell you what, there's a pitch right there that we all used to be afraid to throw him, and that was the fastball up and away. And I really think that he is a better low ball hitter, likes the ball in, and Tom made a good pitch there to get him out to center.
I might contest that later, but we'll talk about it next time he comes up. So Seaver gets the side out. Here are the men coming up now for Cincinnati. Joe Morgan, Davey Concepcion, who singled, and Foster, who homered the last time up, and there's your score, tied at 2. It's Joe Morgan. Joe Morgan facing Candelaria. 1 strike. Joe Garagiola, Don Sutton, Tony Kubek. There's your score.
About as even as you could get it.
Wow. Morgan is fly to center. He is grounded out. 1-1. Morgan, I saw him in batting practice yesterday when he took the extra hitting. He's had trouble with his right ankle, and we told you the wrist. But he was wearing 1 spike shoe, his back foot, and 1 shoe with the rubber cleats, his right foot. I don't know if he's doing it today, but he said the cleats. No, he's got the cleats on. He said the cleats, he couldn't turn his foot. He was putting pressure. He fouls this one off into the stands, putting too much pressure on his ankle. So he's still bothered by it. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
He also mentioned, we were talking yesterday, Tony, that a lot of good hitters, and he is certainly one, can go in and out of the groove. And he said more often this year than in any other year he can remember. He's been in the groove, then out of it. But he said he feels like for the last 2 or 3 weeks he's been right back in it.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Clue was talking to him behind the batting cage yesterday about jumping at the ball, about waiting for the ball to get right out in front of you and then making your move. He wanted him to get that little shoulder turn a little bit earlier so he'd be ready. He fouls off a high breaking ball. Count stays at 2 balls, 2 strikes. Well, there are people who are beginning to wonder about Morgan. Has it been the injuries this year and last year? Or is it 35? Well, he's 36 now, really. 36 years of age. There have been rumors that he fouls it off again, that he was thinking of retiring. I don't think that's true. Or he wanted to leave Cincinnati.
Won't he become a free agent at the end of the year?
You bet. He may have a chance to do it. But he'd like to go out with a big October to prove he can still play. Feels he has something to prove. There's John Candelaria.
That's why
you get 5 hits.
You get a big contract in December. He has a big October.
It's true.
Comes from the side. Chop. 2 hops to Garner. There's 1 out. Well, we showed you a while ago Chuck Tanner in the dugout what we call a ratty notebook. Joe Garagiola had a little conversation with him just before the ball game.
Look, the one we see him pull out of his back pocket during the game. And this tells him everything. Now, many people think Pittsburgh's pitching is suspect. He doesn't think so because he's seen the rotation, and he's got it right here. What does that tell you?
Well, Joe, it tells me that we had to use more than 5 starters, and it took 10 guys to get the job done. That's why we won. There's all the changes right there.
I wish we could have flipped a few pages there. He has drawings and illustrations when they try and steal signs. Look like drawings on Sesame Street. 1 ball, no strikes, 1 out. Madlock again, another chopper. Off balance throw to get Dave Concepcion. I got to give Joe credit. That was your line, and I stole it. The drawings from Sesame Street. I got to come up with a good line once in a while.
You have to tell him about the drawings in the book, the signs.
Well, we're saving some little goodies for you as we watch this replay. Madlock, I tell you, makes another fine play here. And with every great play he makes, you can just see Tony light up because he loves those great plays by the infielders.
You bet.
So do the pitchers.
Well, here's the man. Last time up in the 4th with Concepcion on. Hit a 400-plus, 450-foot home run, and that's just an estimate to left center field. That tied it up for Cincinnati and Seaver. Candelaria has pitched well today. That 1 pitch to this great hitter. 1 ball, no strikes, 2 outs.
You know, George says he does not deliberately take all that time, and he's not trying to irritate anybody. It's just his way of getting himself ready to hit. It's almost like a mental process he goes through that is as important to him as Johnny Bench loosening up with the bat in the on-deck circle.
Do you believe that as a pitcher?
No, I just stand and wait till he's ready. I believe we all have our little idiosyncrasies that we go through. I really don't know if that does anything positive for him, but he thinks it does.
But do you think he's trying to irritate you?
1 or 2 guys around the league he might be, but he and I are good friends. He'd never try to irritate me.
And if he was, he's not the kind of guy with his size and strength you'd want to tell about him. 2 balls, no strikes with 2 outs.
You just wait till he's ready.
Game's tied at 2. We're in the bottom of the 6th. Now the count goes 3-0 to Foster, and he's going to pretend to look. Down at the third base coach, Russ Nixon. No, he's not even going to look. Because if he gets the pitch he wants, he may go. I don't know.
I'll bet you he has the green light.
He may go.
Well, some guys don't like to hit 3-0, though.
Only if he throws the ball will he swing.
He did, and he chopped it. Good sinker by Candelaria. Madlock, who had been playing deep for Foster, lets it roll foul.
That's one of those plays where you hope that stays fair, and you hope Madlock makes a good quick throw because the 3-1 pitch is more dangerous than the 3-0 pitch.
Why?
Because 3-0, he knows that if it's not close, he's not going to swing it. I mean, it has to be his pitch to swing it. 3-1, you get a little bit more in your favor. You get a little bit more in his favor. 3-0, he's thinking you can walk. I'm really confusing you, aren't I, Joe? I think I'm confusing me too. 3-0 is a walk pitch. 3-1 is a hit pitch.
Now that says it right there.
Takes a little while. I'm a new kid here.
Well, it's 3-1 right now with 2 outs. Foster among some very elite company in baseball history. Very few have led any league in RBIs 3 years in a row. 4. Nobody's done it 4 times. He did it 3 times. He shows his disgust by flipping the bat when he walked. So Foster's on first base with 2 outs. Ron Plaza, the first base coach.
Here's the pitch that missed. Looked like he tried to get the outside corner. It was high. And look at Foster. Now, does that bug you a little bit when I do
now
it?
that would bug me because what he's telling me is that I don't like you walking me. I think that if I stay in here, I can hit the ball out of the park. And if a guy gets disgusted because you give him a free pass, I think it's kind of like a slap in the mouth.
So that would frost you.
Yes, it would.
Well, now it's Johnny Bench, who has tripled and singled. There are 2 outs, a tie ball game at 2, and Foster's at first base. Candelaria. 1 strike, perfect pitch. Blown away, Bench didn't like it. Foster would have had the all-time consecutive RBI leader season had he not this year, I believe, missed those 40 games. In the National League 3 years in a row, Foster did in RBIs. Now it goes 1-1 to Bench.
I'll tell you, Foster flipping the bat like that doesn't bother me half as much as a 215 hitter doing it when you walk him.
Yeah, but he does it every game. A 215 hitter you see him once a month.
Here goes Foster. Bench goes to right field. Hit and run. He had Garner covering the second baseman, but the bat is shattered. Johnny will go back. We'll fill you in as Foster goes back on the RBI leaders in the National League. Winfield led it with 118. Then Dave Kingman of the Cubs, 115. Mike Schmidt, Phillies, 114. Garvey, 110. Keith Hernandez, what a year. He led that league in a few departments. Doubles, had a lot of triples, runs scored. He had 105. Foster had 98, and he missed 40 games. In the American League, it was Don Baylor. Then Jimmy Rice, Gorman Thomas, Fred Lynn, Darrell Porter, and Ken Singleton. So it's 2-2. Each team has 5 hits. There are 2 outs. We're in the last of the 6th. Foster's on first, and Bench is the hitter. Look out, Johnny. 2-2. He moves it back. I don't think Candelaria liked him. Hit and run on him with 2 outs.
Here's that pitch again as he brushes him back, and I think it's a good pitch because what he does, he sets it up now. And going back to what you said, Don Sutton, with Kibler behind the plate, a pitcher's umpire, you can take a pretty good shot at that low outside corner.
Yes, you can, and you can do it with 1 of 2 pitches. Candelaria likes to throw the breaking ball away.
Starts it off the place outside, and he catches the corner. The appeal play, out ass for John Kibler, and they go to the first base umpire. Ed Montague says, So the count runs 3 balls, 2 strikes on Bench with 2 outs. Foster will be out and going, and now Willie Stargell's going to move back to protect the hole. They're playing deep. The Bench, the outfield, the infield, and they're playing into pull.
Candelaria is going away with something.
He made a good pitch. Low outside sinker. Bench grounds it to Garner, so he pitches out of a hole. And 6 are gone here at Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. With the score, the Pirates 2, the Reds 2, and there the men do up for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Ott, Garner, and then Candelaria. We'll be back after these messages from your local station.
Johnny Bench standing behind the plate, talking to John Kibler, the plate umpire. Now Johnny is down into the crouch and starts to flash the sign. Ott steps back from the plate. Now Ott is back in, and Seaver has the sign from Bench. He delivers to Ed Ott. That's down low, a ball. Seaver, the 1-0. Ott swings and bounces to Morgan's right. Joe has it, stopping, throwing, got him. Joe moving off to his left, backhands, braces, and throws Ott out by a step. That brings Phil Gardner to the plate. Phil up for the 3rd time of the game. Hit an opposite field home run in the 3rd inning, and then lined to Cruz in center field in the 4th. Pirates scoring 2 in the 3rd. The Reds getting their 2 in the 4th on a 2-run homer by George Foster. Seaver delivers to Garner, and Phil swings. He's jammed on it. A low liner taken on the bounce by Morgan to Dreesen. 2 away. Well, quickly 2 out, and John Candelaria the batter. Candelaria 0 for 2. Struck out in the 3rd, and then was out on a fine play by Dave Concepcion at short in the 4th inning. Dave going into the hole and throwing that long 1-bouncer to Dreesen to knock off Candelaria. Tom delivers, and a strike is called in the outside edge. Seaver shakes off a sign, and the 0-1. Fastball a bit high as Candelaria checks his swing, and that evens the count, a ball, a strike. Full house here at Riverfront tonight. And quite a ball game. Candelaria swings and misses a high fastball. 1-2. Omar Marino waits on deck. Seaver back with the 1-2. Swung on and missed, and that's strikeout number 4 for Tom Seaver, and Tom has now retired 7 straight. Nothing across for the Pirates, and the middle of the 7th. It's Cincinnati 2, Pittsburgh
2. We're in the bottom of the 7th. 2 runs, 5 hits, no errors for Pittsburgh. 2 runs, 5 hits, no errors for Cincinnati. Home runs, extra base hits, and tremendous pitching. Center field. Moreno says, I'll take it. And there's one away.
You wonder if Candelaria has indicated to Chuck Tanner, Pirate manager, that he may be tiring a little bit or maybe having a problem. Sure is pitching pretty strongly, but they've gotten the bullpen up now for the Pirates, which is nothing unusual. And the two men in the bullpen, a right-hander, left-hander. That is Enrique Romo, the right-hander, number 15, and Grant Jackson. He's the left-hander.
I think if you're Chuck Tanner, Tony, Joe, I think you have to be really pleased to get this much out of Candelaria and have him pitch this well.
Oh, you bet.
Outside, ball one to Danny Dreesen. Dreesen struck out in the second inning. He was out. Stargell unassisted. That was in the fourth inning. 1 ball, no strikes. There's the strike. Keep in mind that Candelaria, he has only pitched a third of an inning in the last 15 days before tonight. He faced 4 batters last Thursday against St. Louis. He's had some back and rib problems.
And he is making some good pitches, too. It's not just a guy who's gone out there and labored for 7 innings. He's made some outstanding pitches.
He has dropped down from the side to Dreesen at times and has Dreesen back on his heels.
Left field. Milner near the line. Does he have room? Foul ball. Candelaria has struck out 3. He has walked 1. This telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball and is intended solely for the private non-commercial use of our audience. In any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of Major League Baseball is prohibited.
Joe, there's a conference on right now. It was on the mound between Ott and Candelaria, but Ott was sent out by Tanner and Harvey Haddix and the trainer, Tony Barterone, to check to see if Candelaria is all right.
And there's his answer. His 4th strikeout. Dreesen is the 2nd out in the 7th inning.
Another one of those great curveballs that he's thrown to Dreesen all night long. There it is, right on the outside corner. That's one of those pitches you can't take and you can't hit. And I think you look less stupid taking it. That's a pitcher's hitting theory. If you can't hit it, don't swing.
Ball 1. I have to say this. You keep sounding more and more like Stengel. I keep agreeing with you. Pitcher's hitting theory.
It is. I have 2. If you swing in the same arc long enough, some dummy will hit you bad. And if you can't hit it, don't swing. You don't look as dumb.
2 balls.
Well, you've proven it works year after year. Ott out once again now. He's going to check once again with Candelaria. That's Tanner, Al Monchak right behind him, and then Tony Barterone, Joe.
You remember when we came out earlier, Tony, Tanner said when he starts to drop low with his fastball and he can't get his arm up high anymore, that's the red flag. That's the warning signal. And that may be what he's doing. 2 balls and no strikes. Heidi Cruz, he's 0 for 2. Fly to right and bounce out 3rd to 1st. 2 balls and 1 strike. In 79 at Cincinnati, the Reds 3-3, they split, but look at Pittsburgh, what happened. 5-1 for Cincinnati. On the season, 8-4. Missed 3 balls and 1 strike. Here's the guy you want to get, because you want to get that pitcher up in this inning.
Oh, yes. You don't want to walk this guy. You don't want to have this guy get on. Have your pitcher lead off the inning. It's almost like an automatic out.
3-1 pitch. Hot smash. Foley has it. Long throw in time. Candelaria in the 7th inning. 3 up and 3 down. So we go into the 8th inning. We're tied. Pittsburgh 2, Cincinnati 2. And coming up for Pittsburgh, the top of the order, Omar Moreno, Tim Foley, and the franchise Dave Barker. Omar Moreno leads it off here in the 8th inning. He scored the 2nd Pirate run when he hit a triple and scored on a sacrifice fly. Chuck Tanner out talking to him. He wants to get him on. Here's that triple. That was in the 3rd inning. Collins comes in. The ball gets by him all the way to the wall. And it looked like a chance for an inside to Parker. Look at that. Collins just skid. But Heidi Cruz, hustling, got to the ball, got it back, and it was a triple for Omar Moreno. There you see Cruz. He really hustled. So Moreno leads it off here in the 8th inning. Moreno, Foley, and Parker. 2 for Pittsburgh, 2 for Cincinnati. We'll be right back here tomorrow afternoon. It'll be Bibby and Frank Pastore, youngster. And tomorrow night, Ryan against Palmer, California, Baltimore.
Joe, since that Moreno triple in the third, the Pirates have been able to get just 2 measly singles off Seaver, 1 an infield single. He has really come out strong.
1 ball and 1 strike. Third baseman Ray Knight really guards the line against Moreno, much as if he was batting right-handed.
Both corners. That part of the ball game, protect the line for the extra base hit. Dreesen is about a half a step from the line at first base.
2 balls and 1 strike.
It appears from up here that Tom Seaver is throwing harder right now than at any other time of the night.
There you see it. Tom, terrific. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Are you talking by any chance? I hear that word rhythm that pitchers use, and Seaver has been clocked. And you worked with that gun, I know, with the Dodgers when Tommy John was there. And Seaver's been clocked at times in the first inning of the ball game at 92, 93, and then they'll get him in the 9th inning when he was really throwing hard up to 94, 95.
I think I've heard people say, and I know you have too, that you get stronger as you go along, which I think is physically impossible. I think pitching is a matter of leverage, and I think what you do is get into a groove where you're utilizing the leverage that you have in your arm and your body better, so you are actually getting more velocity, but I don't think it's possible to get any stronger. You can throw harder, you can get more speed.
But can you get more rhythm as you go along and find it, whatever that magical word is, rhythm?
I don't know how you find it, but yes, you can.
2-2 pitch. Low, 3-2. That meeting between Bench and Seaver, every time it happened to me, Don, it was because the pitcher thought he noticed something. Did you have any idea why they were meeting?
I don't have any idea on that stage right there. 2-2 pitch to Marino. He's a guy you obviously don't want to walk. You don't expect him to hit him out of the ballpark. I think they might have wanted to get him on the 2-2 pitch.
Fouled out of play. What I mean by noticing something, sometimes a pitcher will call you out in a spot like that, and he'll say, is he closer to the plate? Has he moved up a little bit in front of the plate, or is he the same? There's a little bit of, and even if you don't notice anything, if you come back with a positive answer, it helps the pitcher.
Oh, I think it helps. Let's face it, you catchers have to help us more than just catching the ball. It helps to have a catcher back there who is doing something other than resting between turns at bat. If a guy can think with you, call the right pitches, that takes away 50% of your job, because the first part of pitching is selecting the right pitch, and the second part is putting it where you want it. And if you have a guy who's in tune with you, it's so much easier.
Did you hear that, Kubek?
You bet.
3 balls, 2 strikes. Payoff pitch. Struck him out.
He put a little extra on that right there. He just froze Moreno.
It's a pitcher's delight, a pitcher's pitch. 3-2. Most people want to just throw the ball over the plate and try to get an out, but that's one of those knee-high on the outside corner. You can't swing at it, you can't take it.
That's the 5th strikeout. That's the first strikeout that was called a 3rd strike. And I keep thinking about your point you made, Don, a good one. John Kibler, he's the pitcher's friend, and that ball right on the corner.
It's one of those that could have gone either way.
Here is Foley. There's a strike. You remember Ed Runge, he'd always say if it's close enough to swing, it's close enough to call. And I want to get out of here in a hurry, and that right hand be up all night long. That's the way it should be. High, 1 ball, 1 strike.
I think it's a fallacy when we've heard over the years saying that one league, American, is a high ball league and the other is a low ball league. I really think it depends upon the individual umpire.
That's drifting near the stands, and it'll be out of play.
You got pitchers, umpires in some league, you got high ball umpires in one league, and it may be low ball in the other league, and I think it's the individual umpire, and they're mixed up in both leagues.
Well, Tony, I don't want to totally disagree with you, but I think in using umpires and pitching umpires in the National League and pitching in the American League and All-Star games and in the World Series, there is a little bit of a difference. But the biggest difference is, as you say, it's from individual to individual.
Outside, 2 balls and 2 strikes. We saw the umpires walk in tonight, and I'll tell you, there was a guy walking with them that was as good an umpire as I ever saw.
Al Barley.
Oh, baby. He was Springfield, Illinois Flash. He'd be behind that plate, and you talk about take charge. Just a whole list of guys you could run down.
There's no doubt that he's an umpire, because I just looked down there during the 7th inning stretch, and he's sitting behind home plate.
Probably
umpiring right along.
Yeah.
He broke me very early in my career of arguing with the umpire. There was a close play at first base against these Pirates. And I'm thinking Bob Bailey was running. He stepped on my heels, so I had to beat him to the bag. So I turned and questioned it with Al Barlick, and he says, young man, you have a great future. You want to spend it here?
2-2 pitch off the handle, ground ball to Concepcion. Long throw in time. Foley is out. He hustled, but it was not enough. 2 up and 2 down.
Al Concepcion's made some tough plays. This is one of those where you go to your right a couple steps, plant the foot. Another good trademark of a shortstop is to make the routine plays. I mean, there's some guys who'll make the sensational play and botch up and put a pitcher in a hole by missing that easy one right at him.
Don't you think early in his career he had that reputation?
Nonchalant. I think he did.
But he's had some night tonight. Dave Concepcion. Here is Dave Parker. Parker was out. Decent unassisted in the first inning, walked in the third, hit into a double play in the fifth. Well hit, right field. Collins coming over, slides, makes the catch. Oh, what a play he made.
Collins makes great use of his speed because this ball is sinking, it is hooking, and he takes it off the carpet. Outstanding defensive plays we've seen so far tonight, and there's Collins making another one. Super catch.
Super catch, super coverage, because there was no doubt about it. He made the play. You could see that ball in his glove. Tremendous play by Collins, and that ends it in the 8th inning. Pirates do not score. It's 2 apiece as we go into the bottom of the 8th. You're looking at a shot of this tremendous ballpark from atop the scoreboard, the lights. Corey Leibel is our cameraman. Look where he is. He's almost into Kentucky to get that shot. There you see him.
You have to have a pilot's license to get that high, don't you?
He might have caught George Foster's home run if he'd have been there earlier. George hasn't hit one that far, but he's got him scattered all over the 3rd tier in this park.
There's the shot that Corey's getting for us. And all our guys, tremendous coverage of the play by Collins. Here comes Chuck Tanner out. Candelaria. Stargell is on the mound. And Chuck Tanner, he's going to make it looks like a pitching change. And Robinson is going to be brought in. So Candelaria obviously said something to him. Romo.
It looks like Romo now. He went for the right-hander. He tried to throw a pitch at either the... Well, I got to believe it's the same old injury he's battled all year long, and it's the rib cage, Joe.
Enrique Romo. And there you see it. 5 saves, 84 games. Second in the National League to Tekulve's 94. Earned run average of 3, 129 innings pitched, 106 strikeouts. And the pinch hitter is Auerbach.
And we don't have enough time tonight to list the number of pitches that Romo throws. Fastball, forkball, changeup, slider, and allegedly dampens one occasionally.
All different angles, too.
1 ball, 1 strike.
Interesting to see what Tom Seaver's problem was. If he just got tired, if he came up with an injury. And you know, this could, if this game does go 5, and those 2 guys come up with an injury, Candelaria or Seaver, could change the complexion of this entire series because they may not be able to start another game.
Auerbach takes a strike, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Seaver, a strong 8 innings. Allowed 2 runs. Those 2 runs was a home run by Garner in the 3rd. He led off. And then after Candelaria struck out, Moreno hit a triple that got by Collins and scored on a sacrifice fly. Those were the only runs. 5 hits he allowed. Walked 2, struck out 5. Auerbach is out on strike, so Romo gets the first man here in the 8th. Candelaria struck out 4. Now Auerbach becomes a 5th strikeout victim for Cincinnati is concerned. Here is Collins. Collins popped to the second baseman in the 1st. Infield hit in the 3rd, and he flied to left in the 5th.
Willie Stargell is right on the line. Madlock not quite hugging the line, but boy, they are really protecting against the double right down the line.
Side, ball 1. Shades of Pete Rose the way he followed that ball right into the mitt.
Got a heater in the dugout. A little cool, as Joe told you at the start of the game. It was in the high 50s. It's probably dropped a couple of degrees. You can tell by the jackets on some of the players on the bench.
But I'll tell you, this game has been red hot. Dandy. Well hit. Base hit for Collins. He's on.
All year long this man has done it. Here's a guy that started out the season as a utility player. With all the injuries, he just fought, won himself a job. And boy, he has just hit and been in the middle of a lot of rallies all year long.
And now they've got it going. One man out. Collins, one of the fastest men in the league. Morgan, a tough man to double up. Morgan is 0 for 3. He flied to center field, bounced out second to first, and he bounced out second to first in the 6th.
Collins stole 16 bases during the regular season. He's getting his sliding gloves on now, taking the hitting gloves off. Morgan does not like men to run off first base. He says at times it's distracting. He's having the kind of year he's having now. He may let Collins go to get in scoring position. He likes to know when a guy's going.
Morgan takes outside for ball 1. When you're having the kind of a year Morgan's having, he's hitting .250 with 9 home runs. The manager doesn't pay too much attention if it bothers you, if it distracts you when they're on base. He's going to play his game. Collins a good lead. Romo backs him off. Morgan backs out. Cat and mouse going on.
Tanner is great, so are his coaches Monchak and Lonette, at picking up guys tipping off steals. They not only steal signs from the coaches, but they will steal a move from a guy on base if he's going or not. Just a little thing. There he's going.
There he goes. Here's a throw. It is safe.
That wasn't that bad of a throw from Ed Ott. It was inside a little bit high, but Foley takes the ball on the run. He tried to hold his position as long as possible, and when he took it on the run, and a little bit inside the bag, Collins with a little bit of a slide to the outfield side gets by him. Here down we'll see from a better angle now as he goes away from the tag.
He got a great jump, Tony, and I was watching Al Monchak and Joe Lynette in the dugout. Just before he took off, they yelled something out to Ed Ott. John Tibber out to the mound.
They want to move the rosin bag. That was a good slide by Collins because it looked like the throw was there in time. And now 2 balls, no strikes to count on Morgan. We're tied 2 apiece. We're in the bottom of the 8th.
Infielder's got to keep the ball in the infield now. Any ground ball, you got to knock her down.
They're switching signs with Collins at second base, so Romo takes extra time. 1 man out. 3-0. The on-deck batter is Concepcion, but do you let Morgan hit? Morgan took a look at Russ Nixon, the third base coach. Don't let those actions fool you. He looks nonchalant, but you got to expect him to be swinging. He was ready, but he draws the walk.
That may be it for Romo. With Tekulve down there loose, he may have pitched to his last man. With Concepcion coming up. Here comes Tanner. He's made the move already. He's called for Ken Tekulve.
Bottom of the 8th inning. Dave Concepcion with 1 out. The tie-breaking run is on at second base. Collins. Joe Morgan is on at first base. Collins, who in that 3rd inning let a ball by Moreno get by him and went for a triple. Pirates scored their 2nd run. With 1 out, a single, he stole second. Morgan is walked, and now Tekulve comes on. Tekulve, born in Cincinnati, against Dave Concepcion.
He can get you double play in a hurry with that sinker throwing from almost down under.
There's a strike as he side wheels one.
He's not one of the easiest guys in the National League to double up, though.
The one edge here, though, Don, is that maybe he'll be falling back because of the sidearm motion of Tekulve. He'll pick up a little bit of time as Tanner looks on. He's got his ace. Tekulve on the mound. Ground ball, Madlock to second, 1 over to first, double play. Tekulve does it again for Pittsburgh, and Chuck Tanner. So Chuck Tanner makes his move with Tekulve, and look at Madlock, Tony.
Well, this is what Tanner has said all year long. It has been our defense that has won it for us. We started talking earlier about this defense from third, short, and second, not having a lot of speed. Look at the reaction of Kent Tekulve. Did his job, and he still appreciated what happened, the double play.
2 runs, 5 hits, and no errors for Pittsburgh. They got their 2 runs in the third inning, a home run by Garner. He led off the third, and Candelaria struck out. Moreno hit a line shot to right field. Collins came in and went by him as we look at the new pitcher, Tommy Hume. And then it was a triple from Moreno and a sacrifice fly by Foley. And it was Pittsburgh 2 and Cincinnati nothing. Then in the 4th inning, Concepcion singled to left, and George Foster, with Concepcion breaking off first, hit a tremendous home run. And that's the way we stand. Candelaria started for Pittsburgh. He is gone. Seaver started for Cincinnati. He is gone. Both pitched strong. And now it's up to Hume for Cincinnati and Tekulve for Pittsburgh as Stargell, Milner, and Madlock bat for Pittsburgh here in the 9th. And we'll be right back here tomorrow afternoon, 3 o'clock. Bibby against Pastore. There's the strike. And then tomorrow night, California with Nolan Ryan against those amazing Baltimore Orioles and Jim Palmer. Broken bat right back. Hume has it over the first, 1 out.
We have mentioned off and on all night some of the key finds for the Cincinnati Reds. Dave Collins, Heidi Cruz, but here's a guy we're looking at right there who may be the key find. Here getting Willie Stargell hit a ground ball back through the middle, throwing him out at first. But Tom Hume, spot starter, in and out. Over most of the year, down the stretch, became the #1 man out of the bullpen. And as John McNamara said, did a heck of a job for it.
And there was McNamara. Bunting. Hume has to hustle the flip in time. What a play.
He really got off the mound in a hurry. Milner does not bunt a whole lot. He was trying to get something going against Hume, and he threw the pitch, was following through in the general direction, as a lot of right-handers do, toward first base, went right with the ball. You know, I think McNamara made the statement in the spring of the year that if our young pitching staff comes through, our young pitchers, we'll win it. He was talking about this guy, Hume, Lacoste, and of course Pastore.
But I would think he was figuring on Hume as a starter earlier in the year.
Well, Hume had an earned run average of 2.76, second in National League to J. Rodney Richard. Well hit, deep to left field. Going back, Cruz near the wall and leaps and makes the catch. Oh, what a play.
Well, the man was up, who the scout said has been one of the hottest hitters, Bill Madlock. And look what Cruz does. Goes right with his back to the wall, makes a nice play. Madlock hit it well, may have got under a little bit too much, got it up in the air.
So it's 3 up and 3 down. We go to the bottom of the 9th. We're all tied at 2 apiece, and it'll be George Foster who hit the big home run. Johnny Bench and Ray Knight. What a bottom of the 9th coming up. 2 runs, 5 hits, and no errors for Pittsburgh. 2 runs, 6 hits, and no errors for the Cincinnati Reds. Kent Tekulve came in. Base runners at first and second, 1 out, and got Dave Concepcion to hit into a double play to end that 8th inning. The kind of a game you'd expect from these 2 teams, and it looks like it's going to be this way throughout the series. George Foster, and look at the crowd. They're reacting to him in left field or standing.
Why is it in a 2-2 ball game or a 0-0 ball game or a 1-run ball game you see Foster, Bench, guys like that? If you were ahead 9-0, you'd see 2 kids from Indianapolis.
Foster never comes in when it's an easy situation. He has done this the last few years. High ball games, up by 1 run, hold the lead. He's in a pressure cooker every time he goes out the mound.
Here's that cat and mouse game we were talking about with Don Sutton. Now Tekulve is going to make Foster wait. Now Foster will probably back out as soon as Tekulve gets ready. Let's see what happens. And all the way, and it's ball one. Colby, 91 games in 78, led the National League. 94 games in 79, led the National League. In 2 years, 185 games. That's a career. Didn't mean to swing. It's in the hole. That's a long throw. He got him.
You just saw an example. Concepcion with great range. Foley with great positioning. An off-speed pitch before the ball was even hit by Foster. It was suddenly a check swing. Foley had moved almost 2 steps to his right in anticipation because he knew in that situation the chances of Foster being out in front were great. Look where he went. Almost directly behind Bill Madlock, and he threw him out. What anticipation.
As we look at Chuck Tanner, Johnny Bench takes outside. It's ball one. It's a misnomer to say move at the crack of the bat. That's too late.
Yeah.
And on the breaking ball to the right-hand batter, the off-speed pitch, he was leaning. He was breaking that way. And he made the play. 1 out. 2 balls and no strikes now on Johnny Bench.
Colby's trying to keep the ball away from Johnny Bench, and if he's going to hit it, make it hit him the other way.
John McNamara. Low 3-0.
Now does he have the green light?
Oh, if he gets the pitch he wants, he'll fly open like a window shade.
He's smart enough to continue staying away.
Looked like a breaking ball. 3-1. McNamara looking on. First championship series as a manager. McNamara. Tanner. 3-2. His bench went for it and didn't get it.
One big part, I think, Don, of Colby's success is he will not give in to a hitter. 3-0, and he looked like he was still shooting for the outside part of the plate. The guy that can end this game in one swing. Bench.
Well, you can't do it anytime, and you especially can't do it right here to Johnny Bench.
Popped up near the stands. Coming over on. He'll not be able to get it in the stands. Kent Colby, what a job he has done.
You hear the batters say from the dugout, why didn't he challenge me or challenge somebody? You're in a situation right here where you can't afford to challenge anybody, and Kent Colby is not a guy who's going to go up there and blow people away. Now, even if you make a good pitch, it happens to just miss and you walk him, you still have a chance of getting some other people out. But if you challenge him and throw that ball where he can hit it, it's all over. They're down 1-0.
3-2 pitch. Fastball misses.
Wants an appeal, but Jacoby now asked Johnny Kibler, the home plate umpire, for the appeal, and he took a glance down to the first base umpire, Montague, and Montague went with a safe sign. He tried to surprise him with a fastball inside.
Tried to come in with a fastball. Looked like a good pitch, and it looked like it did surprise him, but just got it in a bit too far. Did he swing?
I didn't think so.
You're a catcher. You're supposed to say yes.
I knew we'd get a disagreement on that one. You're a pitcher, aren't you?
That's right. You know he went around.
Here is Ray Knight. Knight struck out in the second, hit into a double play in the 4th inning, fly deep to center in the 7th. We're tied at 2 apiece. We're in the bottom of the 9th.
I'll tell you what, Jacoby is not taking Bench for granted. He's only stolen 4 times this year, but he had a streak a couple of years ago. He stole about a dozen bases without being caught.
Guys like him are successful because you don't expect them to go, and they take everything you'll give them.
There he goes. Here's the throw. They're going to get him. They got him. Covering as a second baseman, Garner.
I think that might have been more of a hit and run than a steal. I don't believe he was trying to surprise anybody and steal it, because Knight swung at a pretty good pitch here trying to protect him off the plate.
Ball's a foot outside, not really unloadable. That was not an easy pitch to throw.
Look at Colby. Look at Colby on the mound. He went down and did a split. Now, Bench, it's a hit and run because he looked back to try to find that ball. Off the glove. Foley has it. The throw gets him. Knight is out. It's 1-0. 6-3, and we've got extra innings. It's 3 up, 3 down for Cincinnati at the end of 9 complete innings. It's Pittsburgh 2, Cincinnati 2. Ott, Garner, and a pitcher due up. Okay, Ed Ott leads it off. He has 1 base hit. That was in the 4th. Looked like it hit his foot. I guess not. Concepcion, a tough play. He gets it.
What is that, 3 or 4 good plays he's made tonight? 4. One to his right, one to his left. Started an exceptional double play, going to his right, and now he charges one. Find a weakness in all that, will you? He already went to the foul line in left field to catch a pop-up.
And that ball was snaking too, Tony. It was not what you'd call a true hop, and he took the short hop when he finally did get to it.
And threw the ball totally off balance, made perfect throw.
Most gifted athlete on a diamond, this shortstop.
The preceding was a paid political announcement. Here's Garner. Low, ball 1. Garner hit a big home run in the 3rd inning. He started it off. Looked like a real big inning for Pittsburgh because Moreno tripled and scored on a sacrifice fly, but that's been all the scoring for Pittsburgh. Well hit, left field. Garner's on. And that's the first hit off Hume.
Here's that 8th place hitter again.
You mentioned it earlier, Don, about a 290 hitter in the 8th spot, Phil Garner. Well, he's shown already today. He's hit 3 balls fairly well. That was a little on the fist, but the home run to the opposite field, a line out to center field, and he's one of those guys can sneak up on you on the bases. He gets that walking lead and surprises you.
And on top of that, he is a good base runner. He's a very intelligent base runner. He takes the extra base, and we're going to have a pinch hitter for Kent DeColvey.
Mike Easler is the pinch hitter. You talk about a guy who can control that strike zone. This fella can. He's had a good year for Pittsburgh. 1 man out. As we look to the bottom of the 10th for Cincinnati, it'll be Dreesen, Cruz in the pitcher spot.
Easler ended up at 283 on the season and hit 2 home runs with 11 runs batted in.
Pittsburgh has 2 or 3 guys that they use like they do in Easler in spots like this to pinch hit and to fill in, who have bounced around from club to club, but have come over here and have become 280, 285 hitters, or even better.
He's the only left-handed pinch hitter that Tanner has. Alexander's a pinch runner, although he's a switch hitter.
All 1. Bench was ready to fire. Garner's at first. He had a pretty good jump.
He had a big lead then. He's all the way out on the turf.
Good lead. Holding. High. 2 balls, no strikes.
You know, Chuck Tanner taking DeColvey out of the ballgame, his #1 reliever. You might question that, but I think Chuck is looking at the workload that DeColvey's had over the last part of the year, plus looking ahead a little bit. He'd like to score right now, obviously, but he doesn't want to overwork DeColvey the first game of this championship series. He's been worked awfully hard over the weekend against the Cubs.
There's Gardner leading off first. He had a good cut at that. 2 balls, 1 strike.
It's a fairly nice luxury, too, if you're Chuck Tanner, to have a guy like Grant Jackson who can come in and get out both right and left-handers, and a guy that you believe in as much as he obviously does, Grant Jackson.
I tell you, the ball club, boy, you need that eraser. You need that guy to come in out of that bullpen like DeColvey did for Tanner tonight. Got that double play. Concepcion in the 8th to end the inning. There's a strike. 2 balls and 2 strikes. 1 out. Easler doesn't believe it. Garner's at first. We're all tied at 2 apiece. Riverfront Stadium. We'll be back here tomorrow. Jim Bibby for Pittsburgh. Young Frank Pastore. And what a couple of outings he had last 2 outings. Then tomorrow night, California's at Baltimore.
Kibler is really yelling over at somebody in the Pirates dugout. He took his mask off and said, "Cut it out right now." Can't tell who it is right now because everybody buttons up their lip in a hurry when he goes at you. Might have been one of the coaches.
There goes Garner. It's fouled off, and he'll have to come back.
And he had a good jump, Joe. He was already out on the turf, as we noted before, but he really did have a good jump. It looked like Hume almost just disregarded him.
I'll tell you who's helped some of these base stealers. It's Al Monchak, the first base coach, especially on stealing off second base. Monchak's got some good theories on getting walking leads. You've got to make those runners stop. Pirates.
Good lead by Garner once again. He's holding. Hit to left field. Foster's got a beat on it. He makes the play, and Garner will head back to first. There are 2 away. Ball was hit hard, and it brings up Omar Moreno. Moreno's taking a little bit of time, and in case you missed it, some new managers in baseball and some fellas out of jobs. Preston Gomez is announced the manager of the Cubs.
How about the surprise of the year?
Jerry
San Diego.
Coleman. And Coleman was here tonight as a broadcaster with his little tape recorder, but Jerry is the new manager in San Diego.
Are you two going to be making announcements soon?
Not me.
About what?
Where are you going to manage?
Hopefully from this booth.
Roy Hartsfield's contract was not renewed by the Toronto Blue Jays. A lot of rumors. I don't know, Joe Torre ended up in Philadelphia. Whitey Herzog was fired.
A lot of activity. We've got activity here, and we'll have activity all day tomorrow as far as baseball is concerned. Moreno is up there now. 2 outs. Garner's still at first, and he's got a good lead. He's really edging off. He draws the throw.
You know, Moreno could fool you. He's hit 8 home runs this year. He does not look like a power hitter, but if you just take him for granted and just give him a nice, easy fastball inside part of the plate, he can take you out in right field.
Most people believe he likes the ball in better, Tony.
Way high and outside. That was not a pitch out. Just a high, wide pitch. Ball 1.
Trying to overthrow this ball down, you think?
I think he did. I really think he wanted to make a good pitch away from him. As Joe said, it was not a pitch out, but he just airmailed it up and away.
Bench got that easy. Now that is a fastball. Hume throws very hard, and Bench made that look like sitting in a rocking chair.
You know, when we were talking before, I said that at first it really fooled me pitching to him because he doesn't make the exaggerated efforts. He doesn't move outside, sit on the corner. He plays it like a first baseman. He catches like a first baseman.
Nobody ever looks wild with him catching. 2 balls and no strikes with 2 outs. Garner's holding. There's the strike.
Here might be a nice pitch to start a runner on.
Johnny Bench gets you a lot of strikes, too, on pitches like that, too, where he catches it with so little effort and so little exaggerated motion that the umpire has to think it's a strike if it's close.
Garner started to go and held up, and he's always ready. He's got the trigger cocked. 3 balls and 1 strike. 2 outs. We're tied. 2 apiece. Bottom of the 10th. Garner lead. Moreno. Fouled out of play. Now Garner will be going. Top of the 10th. Extra innings. And that's the way it should be. 2 clubs battle like these 2 clubs did.
Grayson's moved behind the runner, Garner. He's going to protect that hole. He knows he's running. He's looking to get a good jump. He's going to make sure, Garner, that the pitcher goes home and then he's off.
There he goes. It's tap foul. Well, when you run that count to 3 and 2, Don, and I know pitchers don't like it, managers like it even less, you really give that base runner about 4 extra steps with 2 outs. He can score on just about a long single now.
You're right. It makes a lot of things happen that don't normally happen. When you got a running jump, obviously you get there quicker, but when you got a running jump, you can get the guy to home plate with, as you said, a single instead of having to double him in.
Another big thing about it, with Moreno up, you almost lose the force at second. Tough play. You can't get the guy at second. You sure aren't going to get Moreno at first.
3 and 2 with less than 2 out, too. You put everybody else in motion out there, too. All the infielders have to move. Somebody has to cover second.
Tom Hume. Moreno really battling up there. 2 runs, 6 hits, and no errors for Pittsburgh. 2 runs, 6 hits, and no errors for Cincinnati. At 2 outs, Garner's at first. We're at the top of the 10th. 2 home runs, 1 by Garner and 1 by Foster. Foster's a 2-run homer. There he goes. Struck him out. Moreno is called out on strikes. So that ends the 10th inning. We go to the bottom half of the 10th inning. It is Pittsburgh 2, Cincinnati 2. It's scheduled up for the Reds. It'll be Dreesen, Cruz, and the pitcher spot. What a ball game we got.
Jackson, 3rd in the National League in appearances for a pitcher. We already saw DeCulvey, who was 1st, and Romo, who was 2nd. And I don't believe that's ever happened before.
Having the first 3? No, I can't remember. it's an oddity to have 3 short relievers anyway that you will depend on all the time.
Well, Danny Dreesen leads it off for Cincinnati here in the bottom of the 10th. He is 0 for 3. It's a strike. Dreesen struck out in the 2nd inning, bounced out to the first baseman in the 4th, and struck out in the 7th.
I'll tell you one thing. Has he seen some kind of pitches thrown in today? Candelaria? Candelaria was on the outside corner and low to him. It seemed like almost all day long.
And Ott sitting out there with Jackson, too.
Well hit, but it's pulled foul.
I don't think that one broke like he had it planned.
That was one of those backup sliders that pitchers talk about.
Ones we were talking about at dinner last night.
That's right. The slider that doesn't break, and if you get him out, it's a backup slider, and if he doesn't get him
It's
out,
a hanger.
he's backing up third. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Danny Dreesen.
Ott's moving away again.
That looked like a flip curveball. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Jackson, 72 games, tops among National League left-handers. 8-5 is his record as we look at John McNamara. Outside, 3 balls and 2 strikes. 14 saves for Grant Jackson, earned run average of 2.96. Payoff pitch coming up.
Whoa!
Almost took a bad hop, but Stargell has it, steps on first. That must have hit a seam.
That's one of those that hits the edge of the dirt and the artificial surface, and Stargell very coolly and made really a kind of a tough play look easy.
It's not that easy of a play.
He reacted very quickly.
Jackson pitched that time just exactly like Hume was pitching to Marino. Away, 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 and then bingo, come inside with the fastball. Got it in on his hands a little bit.
Heidi Cruz. Ball 1. Cruz flied to right in the 3rd. He bounced out 3rd to 1st in the 5th and was out short to 1st in the 7th. Right on the outside corner, a good fastball. 1 ball and 1 strike. 1 out, nobody on. Bottom of the 10th, all tied. Pittsburgh 2, Cincinnati 2. Outside, 2-1. Grant Jackson, he works in a hurry.
Keeping the ball away from Cruz.
Fastball misses. He's 3-1. He was 3-2 on Dreesen. Got him. Now he's 3-1 on Cruz. Pulled foul.
He's going for the pump.
Heidi
You got to
was
pitch
gone.
up and in.
He takes a big swing anyway, Tony. That time he was popping buttons where there are no buttons. Those are pullovers, aren't they?
3 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. Nobody on. All tied, 2 apiece. Bottom of the 10th. That'll be out of play. He got under it.
Jackson, not quite the power pitcher he once was. He used to take that fastball as we look at Johnny McNamara. Bench is right. Jackson used to say, here's my fastball, try and catch up to it. He's gotten a little cuter lately.
I think if you're going to stay around as long as he has, you're going to have to make adjustments, and that's one he's made.
Struck him out, a good fastball. So it's the 2nd out here in the bottom of the 10th. Brings up Tom Hume.
Grant Jackson, we're talking about how he's tried to be a little bit cuter. That wasn't really being cute. It was just in a super spot. Fastball up and away. That's one of those, if Cruz does hit it, the best he can do is pop it up in the air.
Nobody on, 2 men out. Bottom of the 10th, Tom Hume is the batter. And in the 11th, it'll be Foley, Parker, and Stargell for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Middle of that lineup. There's the strike.
So this is a thrilling time of the year for young pitchers. I was in the clubhouse when Pee Wee Reese brought a new shipment of bats. And Hume and Lacoste and Pastore went over to that box, opened it up, and they found bats with their own names on them. They were like kids at Christmas.
First time they've ever had a bat with their names on it, probably.
That's right. Couldn't believe it.
2 balls and 1 strike.
Hey, there's some pretty good hitting pitchers in baseball. I mean, 175, this guy's no slouch.
Hume, strike 2, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
He's pitching him carefully. A couple of knee-high fastballs right on the outside corner.
Most pitchers ought to have for display purposes only on their bats. 2-2 pitch, foul right back up here.
Great
pretty
cut
good,
at that one.
Pretty good hitting pitchers are like Babe Ruth. They get to be made into outfielders. That's what they get to be.
You probably hook him here.
2-2 pitch by Jackson. High hanging curveball. He runs it full again.
Well, I missed the first 7 guesses early in the ball game. About time we got one right.
Struck him out. Grant Jackson gets Hume on strikes. So it's a 1-2-3 inning for the Cincinnati Reds. We complete 10 innings of play here. We're all tied at 2 apiece. And coming up for Pittsburgh, it'll be Tim Foley, Dave Parker, and Willie Stargell in the 11th for Pittsburgh. Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, where we're tied 2-2. Tim Foley leads it off, and there's a strike. Joe Garagiola with Tony Kubek and Don Sutton, and what a ball game we are seeing tonight. Tom Hume in relief. Foley lines one to left. He's got a base hit, and Pittsburgh has a tie-breaking run on. Pittsburgh scored 2 runs in the third, a home run by Garner. He opened it up. Candelaria was the starting pitcher, struck out. Moreno hit a line drive to right field. It got by Collins for a triple. And Foley, who just opened up with a single, hit a sacrifice fly. So it was 2-0. But in the 4th inning, Concepcion singled to left, and then George Foster unloaded a tremendous home run. And it was tied at 2 apiece, and that's where we stand right now. And Foley is being taken out. Looks like a pinch runner, and only one man I can think of, Tony. Matt Alexander.
Well, Foley starts it off. Alexander has stolen 13 bases for the Pirates. He's been caught 1 time. And you can tell he was a pinch runner before the ball game because all he did was run. He didn't hit it off. He loosened up his legs. Hume's got a pretty big leg kick. And he's a relatively young pitcher, so I'm not certain he's real good at hitting, holding him in on base.
Well, we're going to see a battle between Johnny Bench and this fella. Stole 13 bases in 14 attempts. We are in the 11th inning. The longest game in the championship series, 12 innings in 69. Baltimore beat Minnesota 4-3. Cincinnati beat the Mets 2-1 in 73 in 12 innings. Alexander leads off. Holding.
It's fast, didn't he? A little quick pitch right there. Didn't let Alexander get set.
Did not give him a chance to time his delivery to the plate. This is one of those times.
Joe Launette giving some signs.
It's one of those times when pitchers' attention has to be divided, especially with Parker up there.
Fouled out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Bench had a little conference with Hume. I'm assuming that as we look at Launette again, who's been with Tanner for about 9 years, wherever he's gone, I'm assuming that Bench went out to Hume and said, hey, listen, the main guy is still the big guy, as Joe calls him, the franchise, the guy with the bat, Parker.
He could have also said to him, you get me the ball as quickly as you can and let me worry about it.
And there, whoops, false start, and Bench was ready to strike 2.
You can tell what a good decoy it was. He didn't feel he had a good jump, Alexander. Hume went down to all 4s. Concepcion took 2 steps towards second base to cover.
When you've got a great arm like Bench, what a difference it makes. He doesn't have to use the pitch out. He can be lead pipe sure before he does use the pitch out because he can gun you. Joe Launette flashing the signs. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Alexander, the pinch runner, on at first. Nobody out. We're tied 2 apiece. There he goes. Fouled out of play. It was a straight steal. He was looking at second base all the way. He had no idea where the ball was. And Concepcion just made himself a nominee for supporting actor because he really did a good job. Look
that would have been a challenge for Bench's arm because the way he can run and as quickly as he started, Concepcion does him a favor, tells him to hold up. Sometimes it cannot be a favor because the guy starts to slide then holds up. There's Stargell on deck.
You know, you were talking about Bench, Joe. It gives that pitcher one added advantage, too. You can still spend more time concentrating on that hitter, and all you have to do is give him a half a chance. Hume threw over. I think it was just a courtesy throw. I really don't think he tried to pick him off. It's just, hey, I know you're over there.
Now there's a conference between Concepcion and Morgan.
What was that?
Maybe about who might cover because Parker can't hit through the hole. We saw him over the weekend rifle a couple of balls on the ground against the Cubs right through the shortstop hole. So they may mix up who's covering at second base.
Holding. Fouled out of play. I tell you, the way Morgan moved in, it looked like he was covering on that play.
What you will ordinarily do if you're going to switch is that it appears that Morgan is giving the signs, but on a fastball to Parker, he's more likely to hit it to left field, so you'll have your second baseman covered. If you go to breaking stuff or off-speed stuff, he's more likely to pull it, so Concepcion might be pretty close.
That was his good move. It was a quick flip.
You know, I really think, I was just watching Johnny Bench here, I really think that came on a signal from Johnny Bench.
It was close. You can see him get back, and he just did get back there. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Holding. Base hit, left field. Parker singles to left. Alexander stops at second, and the Pirates have the go-ahead run, the tiebreaker at second base.
Is that a nice piece of hitting by Parker?
Yes, it was.
Fighting some balls off and then just going with what looked like a ball that he tried to turn over and sink down low and away.
And that brings up Willie Stargell with Alexander at second base, Parker at first base, nobody out. And we are tied at 2 apiece. Stargell, he struck out in the second inning. He walked in the third, popped to the shortstop in the sixth, and hit back to the pitcher in the ninth.
Gone. Greason's up, looking for a possible bunt. He might bunt, but he'll get killed down there if he comes in that close.
Way back, deep to right center field. This ball may be out of here. It is. Home run for Stargell. Willie Stargell and his crowd is stunned, and they're leaving his ballpark like it's on fire. They are rushing to the exits with that 3-run shot. And there are the Pirate fans, the Pirate wives, with their yellow babushkas. And look at the Pirate bench.
You summed it up earlier when you said Willie Stargell is the gel that holds this together. He's the glue that holds the Pirates together. Here's the replay of the home run. Fastball, belt high, right down the middle. I have a feeling that that's not exactly where Tom Hume wanted it. He got all of it too, didn't he?
Well, they've talked about Willie Stargell's bat speed being faster this year than it might have been 7 or 8 years ago.
Look at this crowd as Milner. It's a bouncing ball to Joe Morgan. He flips the first. Milner's an easy out. I mean, as that ball landed in the seats, the people just seem to get up and leave.
Well, you got Collins, Morgan, and Concepcion, who will bat in the 11th, and that's no easy touch for any pitcher, but they are leaving.
Bill Madlock, the batter. 5-2. Madlock takes it for ball 1. A 3-run homer by Willie Stargell, the second home run for Pittsburgh. Garner had one in the third. For Stargell, his third in championship series. Base hit, Madlock to center field. He's on.
You know the way they're treating Hume in this first ball game now anyway, that could shock him for the rest of this series. You don't know. He's been a darn good pitcher all year. McNamara out now. But a younger kid gets shocked like this, and it could have an effect the rest of the series because he's been their best short relief man all year. He's going to a left-hander.
Well, the Pirates have a way of doing that to you, Tony, because it seems like they never just get one hit. They get 2, 3, and then bingo, you get the bomb, and it's hard to recoup from it.
The left-hander Dave Tomlin in relief of Hume as the Pirates have broken it loose here in the 11th inning. We were all tied at 2 apiece. A home run by Garner and a triple and a sacrifice fly had given the Pirates an early lead in the third, 2-0, but then a 2-run homer by Foster tied it, and we were that way until here in the 11th when Foley singled to left field. Matt Alexander went in to run. Parker fought off some tough pitches. He singled to left. Base runners at first and second. Stargell, the batter, he hit a tremendous home run. 5-2. Milner bounced out. Madlock singled to center, and McNamara has made a pitching change. Tomlin will be facing Ed Ott. 1 out. Oh, there goes the runner. Bench's throw. It is not in time. They took him for granted.
Well, Madlock has done it since he came over with the Pirate Ball Club from San Francisco. He's stole 21 since coming over. He has speed and quickness, and I got to believe, listening to him in pregame interviews today, he said Chuck Tanner showed a lot of faith in me. He said, you go ahead. He said, I got caught twice in Montreal in the key series, came back to the bench, and Tanner said one thing to me. He said, nice hustling. Never criticized me. He said, I want you to keep running, keep being aggressive.
He's on at second base. Ball 2. The Pirates led the National League in run production in '79. They average 4.75 runs per game. Second in the National League in home runs. Second in stolen bases. Gives you an idea of the scoring ability as Ott takes a strike. 2 balls and 1 strike.
And Matlock down at second base going back. He seems to be limping a little bit. I don't know if he heard anything on the way back. He's having some trouble with the leg.
2 balls and 1 strike. There's the strike. Tony, I tell you, he is limping, but I have learned over the years when I was playing, never trust a base runner that limps. Because as soon as they see a base hit or a chance to steal a base, it's like they made a left turn to Lourdes. A miracle happens and they take off. If he was hurt, the trainer would be out there. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
You know, he hurt his leg a few years ago, and he hasn't walked or run the same way since, but it hasn't hurt his speed.
Fouled out of play. 2 balls and 2 strikes. For sure, even though he's limping, he'll be out here tomorrow, and he'll be in the lineup just like a lot of these people, and will be here tomorrow as Bibby goes for Pittsburgh, Pastore for Cincinnati. Ott is out on strikes.
I'll tell you what, the guys pitching here can be pretty nasty. Bibby can be a nasty right-handed pitcher, and most of the power now in the Cincinnati Ball Club is from the right side. A few years ago, a lot of managers used to save left-handers to try and negate Griffey, Geronimo, Morgan when he was hitting the home runs, Dreesen, and also keep their speed on the bases. But the complexion of this ball club has changed over the last couple of years. We're talking about Cincinnati. Pastore has a good arm, and he'll remind you of Tom Seaver when you see him tomorrow, quite a bit.
Tony, when you're talking about the ball club change a couple years ago, base hit, a bloop, a home run, 3 runs on the scoreboard didn't mean that much. It's more defense and pitching this year. And as we looked at the bottom of the 11th, they've got the top of that lineup coming up. Collins, Morgan, Concepcion, and Foster, who bombed one out of here. So it's a long way from over, as it looks like they're going to intentionally walk Phil Garner.
You know, when we used to be battling the Reds for first place in the Western Division, we used to look at the scoreboard and we see a club jump out ahead of them 3-0 in about the 4th or 5th inning, and we would automatically think, well, they're dead even going into the 9th.
There's a man with a star in his bill. He started that little tradition. Don Sutton's got one in his right lapel. Why did you get your star?
Well, I walked in the Pirate Clubhouse the night before the game, and Willie Stargell came right over, stuck the star on here, and he said, I'd like to give you this for contributing 3 wins to our cause this year.
He gave one to Tanner, the only one Tanner's got in one of his hats, for giving him a day off.
Stargell, great sense of humor. Even if his jokes aren't funny, you laugh. He's such a nice guy.
And he's so big. How can you not laugh?
That's right. Here's Grant Jackson. He doesn't get to do this too often. 2 outs. He's the batter. He hits one foul right off the handle.
Man in the Cincinnati bullpen right there on your screen is Doug Bear. A little bit of an off year this year, but he has pitched well against Pittsburgh. There's Bear. In fact, he struck out about 11 in 9 innings against them this year. It was 2 wins, no losses. So we may see him later on in this series.
The 1-strike pitch to Jackson. Now it's strike 2. This is the 10th time Jackson has gone to bat. He's 0 for 9. Matlock at second base. Garner's on at first. 5-2 Pittsburgh. Line drive. He almost had himself a base hit. Nice play by Tomlin. Good follow through, and that's what made that play.
I really don't think Dave Tomlin made that catch. I think the ball just hit his glove.
The follow through. Let's watch it.
Fastball up and out over the plate. A good hitting pitcher. Line drive back. Watch where his glove ends up. Right where the ball flies. Nice play. That's good for a run.
He hit the ball hard, so that ends it. We go to the bottom of the 11th. It's Pittsburgh 5 and the Cincinnati Reds 2. Bill Robinson has gone in to play left field as a defensive move here for the Pittsburgh Pirates. They've made a couple of changes. Rennie Stenick goes in to play second base. Garner has moved on over to shortstop. Due to the length of tonight's championship game, the Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson will not be seen. Stay tuned after the game for local news, followed by the Tomorrow Show with Tom Snyder. But I might say that you're probably still laughing from last night's special. John, I got to tell you, that was a super primetime special, the best of the Tonight Show. I never laughed. I watched it all last night. I tell you, that Tom DeLuise bit gets me. The Ed Ames thing is a classic. No Tonight Show tonight. Rest, John. Ball 1 to Collins. What a special that was. Low, and it's ball 2. Collins has had a good night. He's 2 for 4.
I think if you're Chuck Tanner, your probably last advice to Grant Jackson was make him hit the ball out of the park.
There's the strike. Jackson and the Pirates leading by 3. It's 5-2. A 3-run homer by Stargell in the 11th inning. Fastball misses. 3-1.
And all the while, Tanner keeps the bullpen going. There's Chuck. First time he's been involved in a championship series as a manager. Same for McNamara.
Ground ball. Stennett has it. 1 out. Grant Jackson in the 10th inning ran the count to 3 balls, at least 3 balls and 1 strike. As we look at Stennett on the 3 hitters and got out of it 1, 2, 3 and runs it 3-1 and gets Collins.
Talk about a guy getting involved. Stennett has not played a whole lot this year because of Garner. Boy, he's in this game defensively. And he had that ankle tore up, but he was talking about watch the bunt, get the ball over the plate. He said about 2 or 3 things to the pitcher Jackson, all in that motion right there.
Joe Morgan. Ball 1. Morgan is 0 for 3. Airtime tomorrow, 3 o'clock Eastern Time. Jim Bibby for Pittsburgh. Frank Pastore for Cincinnati. There's the strike. And tomorrow night, California at Baltimore.
Tony, you mentioned Stennett. We also had a couple of other defensive changes for the Pirates. Garner moved over to short, and Bill Robinson's now in left.
Fly ball, right field. Parker has plenty of room, plenty of time. 2 outs.
Well, the Pirate bullpen certainly hasn't looked tired to me today. There were people who were concerned about it. With that tremendous depth they've got in the short relief department. Romo looked a little ragged when he came in. DeCulvey, Jackson have done good jobs.
Concepcion. He was on when Foster hit the home run. Only 2 Cincinnati runs in this game so far. There's the strike.
In the course of the year, you'll hear a lot of players with a long season say you can't win without a bench and a bullpen.
Concepcion keeps it going. So Dave Concepcion is on at first base, and George Foster, who hit that home run in the 4th inning, is the batter. 5-2, Pittsburgh out in front, bottom of the 11th inning.
With another conference, Stennett and Grant Jackson.
And it can't be too much thinking here. He can simply tell him, hey, look, the guy we don't want up there is the next batter.
That's right. Make this guy hit the ball somewhere. If he hits it out, we're still leading by 1. Don't worry about Concepcion. If he runs, let him go.
Stennett went in, I believe, because he's relayed a message to Foley how they might try and pitch Foster. They're going to keep the ball away. Garner, rather. Garner may move a little bit more up the middle. If they're going to go inside on Foster, he may move a little bit more to the hole. And the way they're playing, they're giving him the middle of the diamond in the infield.
And the outfielders have pain on their backs. They're so deep.
The big man is the one in the on-deck circle. He's the one you don't want up there.
Strike 1 on the outside corner to George Foster. 2 outs.
Tony, if you watched Ed Ott on that shot, he was setting all the way outside, off the plate. That's where he's throwing it.
1 ball, 1 strike.
How many times, though, as a catcher, Joe, did you sit outside to maybe decoy hit or something else and that want your guy to bust him inside?
That happens. 2 balls and 1 strike. But with this guy, I'm sure he's sitting out there saying, just give him to me in the outside corner. But I tell you, he's got to throw strikes.
I think he's probably saying outer half rather than outside corner. Because you're right. You don't want to face number 5 in the on-deck circle.
You want him to throw, not think. 2-1 pitch. He had a good cut. 2 balls and 2 strikes, 2 outs. Grant Jackson in Pittsburgh leading by 3. And there you see Tanner, the cheerleader. Comes out the ballpark mighty, mighty early. Joe Lonette. They've been together a long time.
Coming inside.
2-2 pitch. High, and it's ball 3, 3-2.
I said a while ago when Jackson came in, he doesn't throw hard. He gets a little cuter, but he's just coming and throwing hard.
That's
He
right.
just cut the fastball loose, and that one he had a little bit more on than most others.
I think that's the pitch he wanted to get in the spot. The perfect, take one shot at a good spot and hope you get it there.
What you saw there, I'm going to start my series all over, says Ed Ott. It's 5-2. The base runner is Concepcion at first base. Tying run is on deck and Johnny Bench. 3-2 pitch to Foster. Ball 4. Tying run is at the plate.
Heel went up once again. Ott and Jackson asked Kibler for the appeal, and now the bench is all over the umpires. Kibler's got his mask off, and Ed Montague at first base is pointing to the dugout saying, sit down. You did not go around. I made the call. The umpires in the initial game of the League Championship Series National League are taking control, and they're trying to stop any griping.
The new pitcher, Don Robinson. And we've got another crucial situation here as Robinson has to face Johnny Bench. He is the tying run. Concepcion is on at second base. Foster is on at first base. 5-2 is the score. Pittsburgh's out in front. They jumped in front on a 3-run homer by Willie Stargell. And Grant Jackson, he did a good job, but I tell you, he was 3-1, 3-2 on everybody.
And in that situation, you just can't afford to. Even the 3-2 pitch looked like a breaking ball. It might not have been, but it did look like a breaking ball.
The people that left could be sorry. It might not happen, but it might.
Kidding.
Because Johnny Bench has a flair for the dramatic, has his entire career.
Hey, when we talked at the beginning of the show, I said that this is the guy I don't want to face with the game on the line.
And the game is on the line right here.
He had a dramatic home run to wrap up a championship series for Cincinnati. You saw it in Brian Gumma's pregame show.
He was going
He's
for
swinging.
it downtown. He was going to tie it with one swing, and it's strike one.
Robinson, a man who's been plagued by some arm problems. After a good year last year, he's struggled with arm soreness all year long.
Was a starter most of the time, Tony. And as you said, he did have a little bit of the shoulder problem. Good fastball, a good short, quick breaking ball.
Fastball, and he had good stuff on it, but it was outside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Robinson made 25 starts, 4 relief appearances, 29 games. 8-8 his record. Concepcion is at second. Foster is at first. 5-2 is the score. 2 outs. Pittsburgh leading. High. 2-1.
There are the runners, second and first. To show you the importance of this game, now Stargell's going to come in and talk to Robinson as he falls behind Bench. But Bert Blyleven is up and throwing. He is scheduled to be one of the starters in this series. And the theory of any manager in a short series is split on the road. And Tanner wants his first game, and if he gets tomorrow, it's gravy. So he may even go to Blyleven, who's warming up now.
The meeting breaks up. 2 balls and 1 strike with 2 outs. Bench tripled in the second inning. He singled in the 4th inning. He is 2 for 3. And what a cut he had. He'd like to have that one back.
Good fastball up in the strike zone.
Johnny Bench, Don Robinson. Bench the tying run. Robinson challenged him.
Going away with something, Joe.
Outside, 3-2.
Garner was jumping up and down. There's the bench, Lynette, Rooker. They're all on the home plate umpire Kibler for a close pitch. Wow.
3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, bottom of the 11th. Tying run at the plate, Johnny Bench, and Robinson's ready.
If I'm pitching right now, I I would probably throw him a slider because I'd take my chances of walking him rather than giving him a pitch to hit. Ray Knight won't hit the ball out and hit a feature.
Bases are loaded. He did. He gave a breaking ball.
Now that may be a little bit of a negative way to approach it. But when you get in a situation like that where you know he can hit the ball out, I'll take my chances on the next guy before I give in to this one. Here's a breaking ball. He's thrown him all fastballs to this point. It's a good breaking ball. Got it just a little bit too low. Ott did a good job of keeping that ball in front of him.
The Pittsburgh bench. Concepcion now is on at third. Foster is on at second. Bench is on at first. Ray Knight is the batter. 5-2 is the score. Pittsburgh out in front. The lead run, the winning run is at the plate.
There's nobody seated in this park either, Joe.
Strike one. And this all started after 2 were out. Collins bounced out, second to first. Morgan flying to right. Concepcion singled. Foster walked. Bench walked. And McNamara looking on.
And the man up, Knight, who's played under tremendous pressure all year. We talked about it earlier. Trying to play throws. He's in the hot seat again. He's come through so often all year.
Out of play. 2 strikes.
Robinson's going right after him. First 2 pitches, good fastballs.
He's way ahead of him now as we look at the Pittsburgh bench. They're setting up the defense. Will he try to set up a pitch or will he go get him now?
Well, you have 4 pitches in which to make a good pitch. The last thing you want to do now is to make a dumb mistake by throwing it down the middle.
Outside, ball 1.
Now you still have 3 pitches to make a good pitch.
Here's where he's got to make it happen. Right here, 1 ball, 2 strikes. He can't go to 2 and 2. Here's his pitch of decision, I think.
Oh, foul
Missed
tip.
it. The throw to first base, and Ott could have stepped on home plate for the force out, but he got the play at first base. That ends the ball game as the Pittsburgh Pirates defeat the Cincinnati Reds here in the championship series by the score of 5-2. It's a great win for the Pirates. They win the openers. Tony was talking about they split. Seaver is out of the way for a couple of days, and Chuck Tanner and his Pirates are happy. And here's that last play.
I thought he had foul-tipped the ball, but apparently he missed it. And as you said, he made it happen right here on this pitch. Set him up with a fastball away, then came back with the same slider he threw bench, a good pitch.
How ironic, Joe. You expected the Pittsburgh bullpen possibly to dominate, but you expected Colby, who has finished so many ball games this year, and who comes on but the man with a bad arm, Don Robinson, to do the job.
And what a job he did. Home runs by Garner in the 3rd inning, and a tremendous home run by Starger Windsor for Pittsburgh, but Foster had himself a 2-run homer. And in his first game of the league championship, the final score, Pittsburgh 5 and Cincinnati 2. And what a ball game it was out here at Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati.